Hello and welcome back to Serie A Spotlight. We're your hosts Jake and Matt.
You know what time it is!
I can't tell you guys enough how much you've been my internal monologue when thinking about football for the last year.
Yes, amazing!
We get to record while drinking some wine. Jake and I will have a very special soft spot for Salernitana.
we love him.
We love him. Stop zooming in on Allegri's face, bro. You're gonna make
How
me
are you
break.
exposing me?
Because you're gonna make me break. Man. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Serie A Spotlight. This is episode number 142 and we're your hosts Matt.
And Jake.
Here to give you guys all the talking points about Matchday 6 in Serie A.
Our goal of the week in Matchday 6 was Saul Cocco's Mexes-esque bicycle kick against Lazio. What a goal that was, brother.
Speaking of Mexes, I'm quite sure he scored that goal in that particular kit in the Champions League.
Celebration.
Yes, sir. Yes, that was an amazing goal by Coco. Good to see that the guy can do a lot of things. He could defend really effectively, and good to see that he's quite versatile in the final third as well.
Absolutely, all while looking like a 70s porn star, Saul Cocco.
He does look like
the man we told you about in our pre-season preview episode.
Exactly. Go back and give it a listen if you're still unsure about some of these guys. There were some other fantastic goals as well. Again, we were blessed with a week of super goals. We had Lazar Samardzic, which in this case he scored a last-minute equalizer against Bologna for Atalanta, coming on after his teammate Brescianini picked up a knock. We had Cutrone, who's looking insane this season for Como. Como really picking up. And his second goal in particular after that brilliant pass by Paz was an excellent finish by Cutrone.
Amazing goal, to be honest. And he seems to have adapted his game and he's become more versatile as a player. And he's really taking on the role of a key player for this Como side.
Not a Brexit striker anymore. He was quite a Brexit forward.
I thought that he would be one of the first players that Como would move away from post promotion, but it turns out that he's the leader of this team and he's really shouldering the responsibility.
Yeah, Fabregas must see something in him. We had Marin with an excellent goal as well that gave Cagliari the victory actually up against Parma.
And a super dramatic match. We'll get into it. Amazing.
And Castro once again with another brilliant goal from outside the area. It's like they were looking for Joshua Zirkzee replacement, but instead they got this little bomber who's just shooting from everywhere and scoring absolute worldies for them.
Who on earth is Dalinga, bro? At this point? It's all about Castro right
I don't even want to see Dalinga.
I'm enjoying Castro at the moment. He's really grown since
last
season.
Yeah. We had Champions League action and we currently have Champions League action ongoing. We were left quite disappointed with the Leverkusen-Milan match yesterday, particularly because I feel like Milan deserved more from that game.
It was terrible officiating at the end of the day.
Horrific officiating.
Pretty bad, to be honest. And we usually try to avoid making claims like this one, but that was just poor officiating all around, man.
Theo was struck in the face right in front of the referee.
No
there was a
card.
Clear penalty, a clear foul on Ruben Loftus-Cheek late on, which would have given Milan a free kick in a dangerous area. Milan were quite good in the first half, but there were 20 minutes where Leverkusen were dominating Milan. They also scored offside. It was quite a margin offside as well. I don't know how it took that long. But in the second half, it was all Milan, quite frankly, and I thought Milan had a superb second half, but
so unlucky, yeah.
Very unlucky, but Fonseca is happy with the performance as well. I'm quite happy with the performance as well. Seeing
Milan played well.
I'm
it's
liking
still early
it.
days, right? With a new manager, this team has had the same manager for over a year now. You know, they had an incredible run last season.
Yeah.
So they won the league. They went undefeated.
They went undefeated,
and
bro. Their nickname is Bayern Never Losing. Like, that's what I was telling Keish. She's like, Milan lost. I'm like, yeah, but we lost to a team that are nicknamed Never Losing.
Never losing, but sometimes drawing. Huh?
Sometimes drawing. They also lost the season already. But we also had Inter up against Red Star or Crvena Zvezda. I prefer saying Red Star. It's a lot easier. 4-0 the result. So an absolute walkover there by Inter, which should increase their confidence going back into Serie A, and their goal difference as well. That's 2 victories in the Champions League. Well, no, sorry, a draw against City and a victory against Verona Zvezda. Tonight there's Shakhtar Donetsk up against Atalanta. There's Liverpool up against Bologna. Leipzig against Juventus, and on Thursday we have Europa League and Conference League action with Lazio against Nice, Elfsborg against Roma, which screams a 4-1 victory to Elfsborg, and Fiorentina
Jens
versus...
Petter Hauge hat-trick.
one of those. If Mourinho was their manager, then I would believe it. And Fiorentina against who other than the New Saints. I'm quite sure they're a band, so they might go up against 4 individuals over here, the bassist and goal.
Saints.
The New Saints.
Where are they from? The New Saints. I'm very, very curious right now. They sound like they're Welsh. The New Saints.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. We've got Wales in the house, huh? The new format, baby.
The new format. The New Saints.
Yes, sir. So that's the rundown for Europe, for the Europe action. Do you want to jump to this week in Serie A?
Yes, this week in Serie A is awfully controversial, unfortunately.
What do you mean, bro?
Crime, and more crime.
Okay.
Allegations, and more allegations.
Not our fault.
Yes, not our fault, but let's get straight into it. So Calabria, Skriniar, and Simone Inzaghi's names have come out in connection to meetings with fan groups associated with organized crime, i.e. the mafia. Çalhanoğlu and Barella had also met with Inter Ultra leader Marco Verdico to discuss the allocations of Champions League final tickets against Manchester City last season. Apparently the fans, the Ultras,
Curva Nord.
yes, the Curva Nord, the Curva Sud, they're given tickets to distribute.
Mm-hmm.
And basically they're meant to distribute them in a fair way,
Mm-hmm.
but some of them take advantage of their privilege, right?
Mm-hmm.
And apparently they met with Çalhanoğlu and Barella to discuss how to go about doing this.
Okay.
Now, this is not uncommon for players to meet up with fan groups, as Materazzi back in the day had even met up with the Curva Nord members to sell his beer brand exclusively through them, or something like that.
Interesting.
But it seems that these players mentioned have shown subjection and not complicity, and therefore will not get into serious trouble. I've heard 4 match bans at most with Calabria's name going round. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's quite intimidating, when these people start contacting you. I guess subjecting yourself to them is only probably natural, right?
I mean, I've got little opinion on the matter. Like, do I like the idea of players mixing with the Curva? I mean, if they were just any other set of fans, then naturally I don't hate it. But I disagree with I more disagree with the sentiment that ticket allocation is in the hands of these fans, particularly when I believe the head of the Curva Nord, whatever the leader, was involved in some
many of them
this presidential thing where they were allocating who their leader is gonna be, and he was even killed. So with these groups of people that are naturally subject to these things, not all of them, but a lot of them, I don't know how ticket allocation goes to these guys, and it is more the system that encourages this kind of behavior. I don't think I can look too much at the players and hold them accountable.
No, same here. Remember as well that these fan sectors are also known for drug trafficking and lots of illegal activity in general.
Roasted.
Yes, this has no place in football, right? As entertaining as it can be to read up on, though. Genoa Juve had to be played behind partially closed doors, mostly closed doors, after violence in the Derby della Lanterna, of course, between Genoa and Sampdoria. Referee Maresca has been suspended from officiating in Serie A after allegedly making death threats while officiating in Kuwait.
Okay.
He is alleged to have said, "See you next time," with some people saying, "I will kill you" as well. Yeah,
Okay.
that's Maresca for you, allegedly. Cole Palmer picks Balotelli as the player to take a penalty if his life depended on it.
He knows
He
ball.
knows ball.
He knows ball.
He knows ball. I've only ever seen Balotelli miss one penalty.
We really needed him to score that day.
yeah, really bad.
Well, the friend over, I think. I should
Neil,
remember.
Torri
Neil
Farrugia,
Torri.
shout out. Pep Guardiola has expressed interest in Torino's Samuele Ricci as Rodri's replacement. So there we go. There's his price skyrocketing through the roof.
Literally.
While Genoa are considering bringing in Dele Alli, who hasn't played since 2023 with Besiktas. So there's that. And Morata shaved his head.
Yes, Mata shaved his head actually for a great cause. I remember him doing this at Real Madrid as well.
Yeah, to be just like Jake Fenech from Serie A Spotlight.
Fantastic, yes, his idol. He has a really good head of hair, Morata, and a bunch of kids want his hair. So he's like, you know what, now you got it. And he shaves his head off. It's a pretty sick move from him.
How disappointed were they when they found out that it doesn't come as a wig when you shave it? This is loose hair.
Dele Alli has a tendency of joining very passionate teams and considering. Andrew Batman pointed this out. Which, considering his mental health, I don't think it's a great idea. Bro needs to join Sassuolo for a season. That's the perfect place for Dele Alli to get his confidence back because he'll be pleasing 3 fans.
Exactly, he'll get the ball, the crickets go mental.
Exactly.
Speaking of our patrons, guys, shout out to the people who make this show happen. The list is getting longer and longer. Obviously, last week Greta became our latest patron, and we didn't have our soundboard, but we can pick something from here and just give her a little jiggle, bro. Inspired by Dikwan. Now this is the list of the people who make this show happen. They contribute to €3.99 per month. That's essentially cheaper than a Happy Meal nowadays. These are Ed, Allen, Lena, Mint, Tonna, Theo, Mattias, Luca, Anthony, Mike, Dave, Mastro Battista, Kyle, Andrew Batman, Slooge, McNoodle, Tim, Campbell, Tanino, Batman, Choco, Loco, Joey D, Tony, David Vavra, Keanu, Tyson, Stefan, Robert, Kurt, Pieter, Sal, Grima, Steve, Mattia, Nicholas Bosco, Sean Nolan, Nicholas Granda, and Greta. Thank
Missing
you very
Andy.
much, and Andy, where the hell?
Because I remember he's typically the third one just before Lena. You go Ed, Allen, Andy, Lena.
Yes, you're right. So Andy's
Jose
name goes right there. And Jose bailed, brother.
Jose dropped us.
Controversial on the pod, live on air. But yes,
that's fine.
Thank you for your previous contributions.
Yes, absolutely.
Our fantasy, of course, Pieter is still going strong. He's really cut David by a bit. He's on 484 points.
I don't like this fucking guy, man.
Mastro Batista on 465 points with Loco for the Choco in third place with 461 points. Brother, it is not looking good for me. I got this whole fantasy format totally wrong.
Same.
I went for goal scorers.
Same. And Theo gave us a good talking to of how we should approach it. So I might just do the wild card and fucking start afresh, whatever. I'm not looking to finish at the top for this one. Yes, if you guys are new here, don't forget to give us a 5-star rating, please, wherever you're listening, be it Spotify, Apple, Google, or wherever you get your podcasts. We do recommend that you watch this on YouTube because you get to see our beautiful similar faces that are in reverse, however. Jake is bald and has a beard. I have hair and a mustache, so if you guys want to see that, then go onto YouTube and drop us a subscription, like, comment, and the lot. Our Instagram is back once again, so show us some love over there as well, and do not be shy from DMing us. We're very active, so we love getting to know all of you. And if you want to contribute further, obviously, Patreon is open to everyone. You'll be added to the latest group chat in Serie A history titled The Spotheads, and the banter is unbelievable. And if you think you missed something, you won't miss anything if you are in this group chat.
Exactly. Absolutely. Perfectly put, brother. I think we should jump straight into our rundown.
Yes, we'll start things off with Milan 3, Lecce 0. Milan extended their winning streak to 3 in a row in Serie A after quite a rocky start, as they now face Fiorentina on the weekend. There was Udinese 2, Inter 3. Inter scored in the opening moments of the match. They were very subject There was a lot of subject goalkeeping by Okoye. Suspect by Okoye. However, Udinese did put in a good performance to only lose by 1 goal with Lucca's goal late on as well. And Udinese did a great job of wing play in this game. They shut down Inter's wings and they utilized the wings as much as they can. So we are seeing Udinese as a much improved side from last season. There's Genoa 0, Juventus 3. Great win by Juve. Genoa really struggling with injuries at the moment. Juve at this point are either drawing 0-0 or winning 3-0. There is absolutely no in between. We'll see how they fare in tonight's Champions League match. Bologna 1, Atalanta 1. It was Lazar Samardzic beautiful last minute strike to get the equalizer, denying Bologna their second victory of the season. Torino 2, Lazio 3. The entire Lazio team for the goals. They were doing the Cold Palmer celebration. This obviously comes after Cold Palmer scored 4 goals in a match after a clip had emerged of him. They were telling him when he was practicing his celebration, they were saying, now do 1, 2, 3 in case you score a hat-trick. He's like, what if I score 4? Bunch of people thought he was cocky, but he actually netted 4. And now he has the entire Lazio team in pure admiration of him. And this was a tight affair. Good performance by both teams going head-to-head. A well-evened battle, and I think Lazio deserved the victory by the end of it. Napoli 2, Monza 0. Monza still haven't won a fucking game yet this season. I think they might actually be the only team that haven't won a game yet this season, as they are absolutely dead last under Nesta. They are the only team who haven't won a game yet. There is an international break coming up, and we do hope that isn't bad news for Nesta. Roma 2, Venezia 1. Juric's second match in charge, and it was his second victory. Things didn't start off smoothly though, as Venezia got the opener through Poyampalo. However, Pisilli did get the winner late on in his scoring his first goal in Serie A, and you could see how much that meant to him. There's the Tuscan derby as well between Empoli and Fiorentina, and Empoli just organizationally are so fucking strong. It's no wonder that they're still undefeated. Fiorentina barely got a sniff because Empoli were so structurally sound, and boy, were they hitting Fiorentina on the counter. Cool, calm and composed, everyone sticking to the game plan. Parma 2, Cagliari 3. Parma hit the self-destruct button every week at this point. You see Cagliari's winner late on, and it's like, are Parma defending the draw at the moment? What the fuck is going on over here? But Cagliari's first win of the season, we do hope that it is a turning point for them, and Piccoli getting the last minute winner for them over there, we do hope that is a turning point for him, because it's another loan and another opportunity for him to prove himself, as he has failed to do so. And Como 3, Hellas Verona 2. That is Como's second win on the trot after not winning a single game this season, and it came against an impressive Hellas Verona side. Another 2 goals by Cutrone, and some amazing football being played by Cesc Fabregas' team. But that is the rundown. I believe you have the first match, bro.
Yes, brother, you get some breathing room. As we are speaking right now on the iPad, we've got Shakhtar against Atalanta. Atalanta are currently winning 1-0 thanks to a goal by Gym City Bitch.
Gym City Bitch. Oh my god, shout out to all you beautiful fucks that I met at Freshers Week this week. Shout out to Isaac from ITS. Shout out to Andrea from the University of Malta, Andrea De Marco. Very keen to come on one day. He's one of our resident Inter fans. Shit tasting football teams, but he's very knowledgeable in Serie A. And there were so many people, bro. I was there representing a different brand, but the amount of people that approached me telling us well done on the podcast was a beautiful thing.
That's why that is something I have not experienced yet.
Crazy, man, crazy. I'm a bit more out there.
Yeah, you're there walking around university.
But one day
I'm in my living room, baby. You know.
But yeah,
absolutely. So let's get straight into it. The first game we will be covering is Milan 3, Lecce 0. So let's talk about the lineups. First, we have a 4-2-3-1 for Milan with Manjan in goal, Theo Hernandez as the left back, Emerson Royal as the right back, with Tomori and Gabi as the centre back pairing, a double pivot of Reinders and Fofana, Leao, Morata and Pulisic playing behind Tammy Abraham. As for Lecce, it was a 4-3-3 formation with Falcone in goal, Dorgu, Baschirotto, Gaspar and Gallo at the back, with Koulibaly, Ramadani and Pierret as the midfield three, Tete on the right, Rebic on the left and Kristovic up front.
Just instantly good to see Fonseca sticking to his previous words, saying we're going to find a system that works. It's not going to be perfect, but we're going to stick to it to lay the foundation as the exact same starting 11 that we saw against Inter, isn't it? So that's him practicing what he preaches to perfection.
Because he was being pressed about rotation. He said before we can even begin to consider rotation, we need to have a system in place, right?
To plug and play.
Exactly. We need to have an identity on the pitch, which individuals know very well, and then the substitutes will strive to imitate what the starters give you, at least when it comes to the basics. Then of course they have their own, they can express their own individuality in different ways and their own little differences and nuances. But yes, I think that's I really like Fonseca when he speaks. He speaks very calmly. Granted, we have criticized him and said that we've criticized the management for the selection of Fonseca, but he has held himself quite professionally.
He's been, I told you when we were watching the Leverkusen game, I said if Fonseca were to be sacked, I would be fucking devastated because he's carrying himself well, and what better way for a manager to show you how fucking good he is when the team goes through a very negative spell and the derby comes about, it's do or die, and he just turns things around, man. And those little glimpses of brilliance that we got are becoming more consistent now.
And it could have been all over for him after that whole Theo and Leo fiasco, but they were playing for him. And it's clear that they are playing for him.
And it fucking worked. It worked.
So as for the missing players list, Benacer, Calabria, Florenzi, Okafor and Sportiello were all out on this one. Calabria, of course, hanging
playing
out.
Poker in a basement with the Curva Sud.
Exactly. Berisha, Bonifazi, Juan Gonzalez, Guilbert, Caba and Sansone were all unavailable for Lecce. Now, so all three goals that Milan scored came in a quick 5-minute span at the end of the first half. Skinhead Morata opened the scoring with an intelligent looping header in the 38th minute, followed by a powerful strike from Theo Hernandez in the 41st, following a perfectly weighted pass from Leao.
Gorgeous pass.
Pulisic then added the third in the 43rd minute after two misses by Tammy Abraham, ending Milan's barrage on Lecce. Milan, of course, shifted out of gear, went into first gear and cruised through the second half, even rotating some players. They focused on controlling the midfield through Fofana and Reinders. Of course, they maintained 57% ball possession. Lecce, on the other hand, struggled to contain Milan's wing play, especially from Leao and Pulisic, particularly with Theo running in behind. Lecce's defense was repeatedly overwhelmed by Milan's pace and movement, quite frankly. They were just too powerful, too fast, too consistent, barrage after barrage after barrage, wave after wave.
You're mentioning the wing play, but the way Milan are attacking straight down the middle with Morata, Reinders, and even Fofana, the way he's carrying the ball forward as well. And just as a unit, you see that most of the time the team actually looks like it's playing a 4-2-4. You've got the first four, which are the first line of defense with the winger. So you've got Leao, you've got Morata, you've got Abraham, and then you've got Pulisic on that side. Then you've got Reinders and Fofana in the middle, and then the four defenders. And then obviously you do see them shifting in how is needed. But when that essentially the middle two and the front four start charging at you, Milan can be really unstoppable. And the way that they're able to exploit the tiniest of spaces, the way they're smelling blood, the way Milan are running in behind at the moment, teams like Lecce can simply get blown out of the water.
Absolutely.
Even when they were doing the low block. Even with the low block, it didn't seem like an issue at all for Milan.
And it's come to a point now where if you keep it tight, or if you force Milan out on the wings, they're going to find a way.
Yeah.
Because Milan, for the past, I don't know how long, have been playing through the wings. In fact, I'm finding this whole playing down centrally thing very refreshing, bro. I'm not used to it at all. So, right now, Milan are quite unpredictable in their attacks, and the movement of the strikers makes this all possible. Abraham and Morata really are the catalysts for this type of football.
Absolutely.
Two very intelligent players with their movement.
Absolutely.
Lecce, this game, had their moments. They had 16 total shots compared to Milan's 15, for example. But they weren't clinical enough, especially Dorgu at the start of the game was quite wasteful. And Banda came quite close for Lecce when he hit the post in the second half. But Milan, generally, I would say, kept Lecce at bay. And I was chilling watching this one, bro.
It was chill. I missed 2 of the goals, literally, bro. Because I went to the bathroom and then we ordered some food and I just picked it up from...
In fact, you thought I was taking the piss,
I
right?
thought you were taking the piss. You always do that. Never I go. I never believe you. But I missed 2 of the goals. But again, brilliant display by Milan. This is exactly what Milan needed. Milan needed a repeat of the Venezia game because they had Leverkusen midweek, and without overwhelming the team with loads of rotation going into a Champions League night, to keep that consistency that Fonseca's after, and that obviously makes the most sense. Then the best way to do that was to win the game in the first half. To win the game in the first half, bring on your young talent and let them get a red card with a dangerous tackle there by Bartazaghi.
The next point, he was, in my opinion, wrongfully sent off for a tackle which saw him get the ball a solid 4 seconds before even touching the player, I would say, bro. His studs were up, granted, but he touched the ball so cleanly beforehand.
Yeah, but I think this is one of those cases where the rule book does say you can't show your studs in those situations, and whether you get the ball or not, it's dangerous play. And I think the term is Jito Hazinat. Like, I'm sure he didn't mean to show his studs. I'm sure momentum is what made his foot go up in that way. I doubt Bartazaghi was being malicious in that challenge. But it's good because I'd rather he gets a red card in the 80th minute at 19 years old or however fucking old he is, when Milan have pretty much won the game, than if that happens in a do or die moment, like it did last season when I think Bartazaghi had come on last season.
Absolutely, it's a tough lesson, but it's definitely a lesson.
It's needed.
He's gonna take something home. I felt bad for him, and to be honest, you could really see like
Goal.
The type Lookman's just scored. You could see the type of leader that Leao is when it comes to the young players in the team, man, because he immediately protested to the referee about the red card, and you can tell he kind of takes these players under his wing, Leao. When he said, "I'm a different type of leader," I kind of see it. Sometimes his body language is frustrating. His work ethic or work rate can be criticized in certain moments where the team is low.
But he's responding to this press system.
And Fonseca gave him the armband, which is honestly
I was going to ask you, what do you think of that?
Like
what do you think of Fonseca giving Leao the armband? And he has also mentioned Fonseca is like, the armband doesn't belong to one person. So I fucking decide who gets the armband. It could be a different person every week.
I think it's a good idea. I think that we've mentioned on this podcast before that Milan were on a high, and the only one who wasn't on a high and who was still receiving criticism was Leao.
Yeah.
Fonseca gave him the armband.
And
Emerson Royal. But even he is putting in a solid 6 every game. Solid 6. No, 5.5.
Against Leverkusen, bro. Well, we'll get to that. What do you think of the armband?
I think it's great. I think it's really smart. I think it's a good way to psychologically lift someone who's low, who's down. Now, there are many people who deserve the armband. When you look at the likes of Theo, when you look at Leao, for seniority's sake, they've both been there for about 6 years.
Yeah.
Theo's been there a bit longer than Leao. So in theory, Theo should be wearing it. But I like the fact that it's on rotation. I like giving it to people who need it in the moment. People who, even certain moments, require certain personalities.
That's what I was gonna say. If we're talking seniority, give it to Gabbia right the fuck now because he's bred Milan. So
For life, baby.
Since he was in the womb, he was red and black. What I was gonna say is, Milan have a lot of leaders in the team. Theo is a leader within his own right. Morata is a leader within his own right. Pulisic carries the team when the team is struggling.
I think this is a new thing that
Milan
have leaders, because up until 2 weeks ago we were wondering who the hell the leaders are on this team.
But my point now is going to be, and I'm not saying this is how I feel, but isn't it important to have that one captain, that Sergio Ramos, that Cannavaro, that Zanetti, that Maldini? Isn't it important to have that one figure that you can just rely on to pick the team up consistently week on week? And rather than just kind of handing it out like it's an employee of the month card.
So in response to that, I will ask you a question. Was Zlatan a leader on the pitch?
Yes.
How often was Zlatan captain in his life?
Not often, no.
Not often at all. Because if you are a captain, if you are a leader, you don't need a piece of fabric on your arm. For me, Milan changed when Morata started playing.
Yeah.
And Morata has led this team. He grabbed the team by the balls and he led them forward. He paved the way.
The team was boss, fucking shaved his head.
He shaved his head. He
Shaved
grabbed
his
everyone.
fro-
Yeah.
He shaved his head, not his pubes.
There
That's
we go.
the
Brilliant. That's the episode title, guys. So for me,
bald head, hairy dick. Am I right? Whatever.
I'm not quite sure what this guy's doing. For me, the captain's armband doesn't mean you're the leader. I think your actions on the pitch.
To be honest,
I think
that's
right
a great.
now,
That's a great answer. That's a great way to put it.
right now, it's easy to appear as a leader right now at Milan. But if you look at the difference between the opening two games and how it's going right now, there are a few personalities that have emerged. Gabbia has emerged, and he is a defensive orchestrator. This guy, the way he shouts and leads the line and keeps
Milan's
everything in order.
most defensively sound player.
It's true.
For sure. For
It's true.
sure.
Fofana's gaining confidence. You see him speaking, you see him shouting, you see him shouting out instructions. Morata, as well as we mentioned, Pulisic in his own way is. And now that these people are starting to make their voices heard, Theo and Leao are also stepping up again. They're stepping out of their shadow. And Tammy as well. Tammy leads with his work rate and his work ethic and his positive mentality, in my opinion.
Yes. Great stuff by Milan. Good win for them here against Lecce. To be honest, do you think we can move on from this one?
I think so. Let me just make sure. I wrote Milan are a nice combination of teamwork and individual quality at the moment, which is true.
Yeah.
Morata's the orchestrator of attacks with his movement. Abraham was unlucky not to score, and he has to improve in these situations.
Yes.
His finishing is not.
But will he? That's a good question because
Probably not.
He's
This is
had
who he is.
this problem. But honestly, just simply for the way he complements his teammates, he's a guaranteed starter, nailed on. I'd rather have him than some guy who can't play with the ball at his feet but is banging goals in. I think Abraham really, really complements this team, and you see many different players getting goals for Milan at the moment. Of course, Pulisic is the top scorer. We'll see Leao starting to get goals now. Morata will get firing as well because he can play everyone in, man.
It's true. Absolutely, bro. Positive signs for Milan. Lecce, on the other hand, have a lot of work to do. Of course, they had a poor, 5 minutes, bro, and everything went to shit. Shit hit the fan for them very, very quickly. Between the 38th and the 43rd minute, they lost the game, and there was no way of coming back into it. So this was a bit of a write-off for Lecce at San Siro. But over to you, brother.
Next up, we've got Udinese 2, Inter 3, bro. Udinese were coming off a 3-0 away loss to Roma, a Roma who were debuting under Ivan Juric. However, midweek they had a 3-1 home win against Salernitana in the Coppa. Inter were obviously coming off their 2-1 home loss in the Derby della Madonnina. Frattesi came in for the injured Barella, and Inzaghi also decided to start Bissek and Darmian. Payero, Gianetti, Camara and ex-Inter star Alexis Sanchez were all out of action, so tall defender Isaac Toure got his first Serie A start. It was a 3-5-2 formation for Udinese with Okoye in goal and a backline of Toure, Bijol and Cabasele. That's Zemura out on the left and Ezibwe out on the right, with a midfield three of Zarraga, Karlstrom and Lovric, with Thuvan and Davis starting up front together. Also a 3-5-2 formation for Inter. Sommer in goal, a backline of Bissek, Acerbi and Bastoni. Darmian out on the right, Dimarco out on the left, and a midfield three of Frattesi, Çalhanoğlu and Mkhitaryan, with Lautaro Martinez and Thuram starting up front together. Now Inter took an early lead when Frattesi scored within the opening moments, in the first minute actually, taking advantage of a sharp through ball from Darmian. incredibly suspect goalkeeping from Okoye. The ball seemed to roll under his fingers. He didn't seem to commit to it. I think he could have come out to collect it. I think he could have spread open to deny that, but instead he kind of crouched sideways, and it almost seemed like he just tried to tip the ball around. I don't know.
The more
what the
I
hell
watch
that was.
it, the less I understand it.
Hey,
to be honest with you.
It looks like he's paid, to be honest.
Right. Honestly.
We've got Calabria playing poker with the Curva. We've got Genoa and Sampdoria basically stabbing each other. And we must have some players that are picking up some notes.
I don't know. He definitely an off day, and even at last, I'm sure you'll get to it. Jumped right out of the way.
Yes.
Out of the way in the last goal.
In the 30th, let's get to that. So in the 33rd minute, DeMarco stopped a certain goal with a last-ditch slide tackle on Lovric, who had an open net, celebrated like a goal. It was absolutely brilliant defending by him, reminding us that he actually is a solid defender, and in future, maybe if he's not as lethal playing down the wing, then he would make a great, let's say, a left centre back in a 3 at the back system, maybe a bit of Kolarov in him, something of the sort. Udinese responded just before half-time, levelling the score with a powerful header from Cabasele, who connected with a well-placed cross by Zamora. This is where I thought that Udinese were having some great wing play, and a similar goal to that one that they conceded against Milan, where the first centre defender didn't get to it. It was played perfectly between two of the centre backs, and Zamora didn't even have to rise highest. Cabasele didn't even have to raise highest, as Zamora's ball was pinpoint to him. But as the first half drew to a close, Martinez restored Inter's lead, fumbling the ball over the line after DeMarco's low cross, getting his first goal of the season. The ball was totally fumbled over the line. To be honest, I need to see another angle of this, but to me it looks like a Bijol long goal. And where the fuck was Okoye in this one?
So I've just Googled it, right? Because surely a performance like that doesn't go unquestioned by Okoye. So I've Googled it, and apparently he's apologized for his costly errors, and notice the plural.
Changes everything.
And Udinese's defeat to Milan after a messy breakup with his girlfriend.
Oh no!
So mentally he wasn't in the right place.
Oh fuck. That was a messy breakup, huh?
He took to Instagram to express his regret, particularly his role in conceding to Davide Frattesi, the opening goal, of course. He simply said sorry in an Instagram post.
Okay. Say with your chest.
In several emotions. Then he posted more. Okay, there was a whole back and forth with someone where
damn, she was bad.
Yeah. They were a cute couple, it's a shame.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what, Okoye? Plenty of fish in the sea.
This is giving breakup advice to Okoye.
You'll be fine. Look at Karius. Karius had the worst goalkeeping performance I've ever seen in a Champions League final, and then he landed Diletta Leotta. So
Madonna, he impregnated Diletta Leotta. Fucking lucky. Shortly after the second half began, Lautaro struck again, getting his second goal of the season, this time assisted by Marcus Thuram, who muscled off his defender to set up Martinez to fire the ball into the bottom corner in great fashion. This is where we start to see these guys linking up well, playing to each other's strength. Now you've got Thuram, who could outmuscle a defender, play it to the little guy who's always finding these pockets of spaces to be in, and he gets a clean finish over there. Good to see him up and running. And then late in the game, Udinese staged a comeback effort with Lorenzo Lucca pulling one back, slotting the ball past Jan Sommer very cleanly. But despite their best efforts in the final minutes, Udinese couldn't find the equaliser, and Inter held on to a much-needed victory. These commentators that I've just been saying, Lucca is just unstoppable in the air. He's so good in the air. I've heard
someone describe him as a Petagna type.
Well, come on.
Nah, bro.
Come on.
They don't get it.
Lucca is incredibly gifted with the ball at his feet. His height helps him muscle off defenders and get to balls that perhaps other strikers wouldn't get to. But don't get it twisted. The guy is technically gifted. The same way, imagine saying Zlatan Ibrahimovic, because he's tall. Oh, he's so good in the air. He's so good in the air. Mm-hmm. He's got incredible technique. And this is like most of the goals that he scores. He gets played through, he manages to use his incredible stride to get past the last defender, and he finishes cleanly. That's Lorenzo Lucca for you with another great goal. And coming off the bench as well for Udinese, which is a good sign for Udinese. They've got a bit of depth to play with.
Yeah, it's true. I think Davis deserved his start because he's been playing well, and they had a midweek game, if I'm not mistaken. Udinese.
Yeah, of course, Salernitana 3-1.
Exactly. And Lucca started that, so Davis got a well-deserved start over here.
Yeah. On the topic of Udinese, before we move on to Inter, I think Udinese showed us 4 particular things so far this season, and particularly in this match. I am on a high for Udinese. I know they just lost this game. And of course, they were losing the game 3-1 at a point, but I do think they put in a very good performance, a very mature performance against an Inter side, which are very hard to crack. They showed us defensive organization, especially after they conceded early. Because teams, when they concede early, they typically lose the game plan, either rush to try find that equalizer, or they simply don't go forward anymore and the game just ends 1-0. But they showed us great defense. A great defensive performance after conceding the initial goal. They showed us great transitional play from midfield to attack, particularly with the midfielders Zarraga, Karlstrom and Lovric doing a great job either playing in the wingers, typically playing the ball into space between like Lovric and Ezibwe or Zarraga and Zemura. So you've got the central areas to the side of the team, and that is where they were attacking Inter from. Effective wing play, not only in the way they were attacking, but the way they were stopping Inter's onslaught from the wing positions. I think they did a fantastic job to neutralize the Marco and Darmian effect. And the attacking depth. To bring on Lorenzo Lucca, and Lorenzo Lucca gets you a goal, is a luxury for a lot of teams. Certainly not something I thought Udinese would be able to do, but they're showing us better depth. Clearly, they were mismanaged in the past few seasons, because the way that this guy is getting them play football, his name even escapes me at the moment.
It's Runjaic.
The way he has them playing football as this unit is immense. What do you make of Udinese so far?
They're playing very well. Udinese for the past few seasons have been a nice little combination of very talented left-footed players and big motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And they have had successful spells in recent years, particularly towards the beginning of the season, where they would appear in the top 4 of the league, and then eventually that plateau, they'd lose their ways, and they'd start going down, and then up battling for relegation.
Ever since that incredible start to the season with Sotil, they've been battling relegation.
Exactly, but it seems that they do have a project in place right now. You look at most of these players are actually youngish. They're in their early 20s, which is a nice thing going forward. Very talented guys as well who have international experience. Of course, Okoye is a very well-respected goalkeeper. He plays for Nigeria. Granted this wasn't his best game, but we know what he can do.
Absolutely.
Thuvan, of course, international experience, very experienced player. Bijol has become a staple as well. People are starting to recognize him.
Was a little bit shaky in this game. Even in the second goal, he completely misjudged the flight of a ball.
It's true. But these are the types of leaders they have. And then lots of young talent sprinkled around the team.
For sure.
Which is nice. Yes.
For sure. And well managed. Because the way they're moving as a team, as a unit,
they're a team in recovery, I think, because they were a team on the down for quite a few years.
Yeah. When it comes to Inter, obviously great news for them that Lautaro has gotten a goal, and he actually scored 2 in one game after a drought that was starting to become quite concerning. Could we expect him to be among the top scorers this season now?
No, there was never any writing him off. Once Lautaro gets going, there's no stopping him. It took him a while to score, but he scored once, he scored twice. That's how Lautaro is, and he's one of the best strikers in the world at the moment. Let's not forget that he had a very good Copa America as well. He had no rest, this guy. So I would expect to see him become prolific yet again.
Yeah, I agree. I think Inter, once again, so where Inter were super strong last season, certainly was in their defense. Of course, they are a great attacking side. They've got various weapons in how they can attack. It was a major strength for them. But defensively, incredibly sound with a 3 at the back system that easily turns into a 5 at the back when defending, with midfielders that enjoy putting in a defensive shift and conceding little to no goals. Last season, they were almost impenetrable, to the point that even in the Champions League final a couple seasons ago, Haaland couldn't get on the score sheet, and they lost 1-0 thanks to a Rodrigo from outside the box. But this season, we're seeing them struggle defensively, and here, although they secured the win, they struggled at times to manage Udinese's pressure, especially in the closing stages of the game, and this was also the case against Milan. I feel like teams are finally figuring out how to press Inter, because if you press Inter too aggressively, then they will quickly bypass your midfield through Barella, through Di Marco, and through these creative outlets. But I feel like teams are finally getting a hang on where to press, how to press, and how to dispossess Inter, and how to disrupt their play starting from the back. Because that's Inter's strength. They play the ball out of the back. And over here, you see them lose the ball deep in their own half. And as well, last week against Milan, it was the same thing.
It's true. And we're seeing a lot more rotation from this Inter team, which probably contributes to the lack of consistency. Heavy priority on the Champions League. Granted, they did make the final last year. So it's not like they were putting it on the back end, but now there are more games in Champions League, so there will need to be a lot more rotation. So Acerbi and De Vrij are 1 year older, for example. Bisek has to start actually playing consistently well with a lot of pressure on his shoulders.
Yeah.
Pavard has been a bit shaky as well.
He has been.
Get himself sorted.
Individually, the defense, I feel like they have been a bit shaky.
They're not as confident as they were. And even Jan Sommer's name is being questioned by some Inter fans as well. It's a good thing that the Inter management are ready. They've got Martinez on the bench, the former Genoa goalkeeper. He's a very good keeper, in my opinion. I think I wouldn't be surprised if he were to bench Sommer at one point.
He's
this
not
season.
someone you bring in if you plan on just keeping him on the bench for the entire season.
What I think they lack, though, Inter, is the same level of hustle, of defensive hustle in midfield as we discussed last week, or in person. I'm starting to mix up our conversations in real life and on the podcast.
I'm surprised it doesn't happen more, to be fair.
Barella, Çalhanoğlu, Mkhitaryan give you a lot of Belanovic scored. Give you a lot of defensive work ethic. They are not defensive-minded players, but they will grind and tackle and they will fight for you. With their teeth gritted. Aslani coming on for Çalhanoğlu doesn't give you the same thing. Frattesi coming on for Barella doesn't give you the same thing.
Definitely not. Way more attacking-minded.
Zielinski coming on for Mkhitaryan doesn't give you the same thing. So they need to get that sorted. They need to implement this defensive hustle into their bench players, I think.
For sure. You mentioned their schedule, naturally, as part of rotation. They do have quite a tough schedule coming up. So, of course, after this game, they beat Zvezda Zvezda 4-0. They actually play Torino on Saturday, which is a tough game this season's Torino. After that, they play Roma away from home. Then they've got a midweek match against Young Boys. After that, they play in the Derby d'Italia against Juve. And after that, it's away to the undefeated Empoli. So, firstly, what a league.
What a league game.
Because Empoli is a tough game. Torino's a tough game. This is crazy. But also a very, very tough run for Inter coming up. Man, that Juve game is tough. Roma away is tough, especially the atmosphere in Roma Stadium. And that Torino game is going to be far from straightforward.
Honestly, I think there are hardly any spells of easy games. If you look at the teams who have had a difficult start to the season, for example, like Atalanta, honestly, there are teams right now like Empoli and Torino who are bloody difficult to play against, and this is the most difficult time to play them.
Yeah.
Because towards the end of the season, these guys will be okay with a draw, maybe settling for a draw later on, But right now, they're hot, they're in form, everything's working, and it's the worst time to play them. So there's never going to be an easy moment.
And think about it. Last week, these guys were playing the Derby della Madonnina, which is by no means an easy game. But I feel like Inter, at the moment when we talk about Inter, it's super easy to pinpoint the things that are going wrongly for them, where they weren't as strong as they were last season, because they are the champions. They didn't have a single clink chink or whatever in their armor. And this season, obviously, it's impossible to tell where the season is going to go. And Inter are looking a bit more human. Might take them a bit longer to get going, and they absolutely murder everyone later on. But we're here just pointing out these little things where they were.
The midfielders need to actually defend a bit better if they're expecting any better results.
But I guess that's
it,
what
right?
we do.
That's it. We are here reacting to what we see on the television.
Exactly.
That's it.
Over to you for the next game, brother.
Yes, sir. So I prepared my notes, a fun little piece of information on Microsoft PowerPoint today. I haven't made a PowerPoint presentation, brother, in years. It's been like 10 years, I think.
Jesus.
So this is
I
absolutely
mean, I use
insane.
Keynote, so it's essentially a PowerPoint presentation every single time.
I'm not a big fan of it yet, but we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see if I get used to it. So, Genoa 0, Juventus 3. As Matthew mentioned at the beginning of the episode, you are either going to come 0-0 or they're going to beat you 3-0.
Exactly.
And in this game, they lined up in a 4-2-3-1 formation with Perin in goal, Danilo, Kalulu, Bremer, and Ruhi at the back, with Fagioli and McKennie as the double pivot, Nico Gonzalez on the right, Yildiz on the left, with Coop Miners playing off the shoulders of Vlahovic.
You're so blind, man, when you can't Davey. You can just see you get so close to the screen.
At this point, I just know who they are, you know. So I just see like the first, the middle, and the last letter. I can put it together. Gollini was in goal for Genoa in their 3-5-2 formation, with Vasquez, Bani, and De Winter at the back. Ahanor on the left, Zanoli on the right, with Miretti, Badelj, and Frendrup in the middle, Vitinha and Pinamonti starting up front together. As for the unavailable players, Ekuban, Malinovsky, Junior Messias, and Norton Choffy were all missing for Genoa. And it has been announced as well that Frendrup has taken an injury, their injury crisis, and the fact that the owners are selling their best players is making Gilardino's task even tougher, basically.
Yeah.
Genoa had a good thing going, and the owners are just ruining it, you know. But anyway, for Juve, it was Milik, of course, and Wea, who were out injured. I'm not going to bother saying Pogba, of course, because he's technically still missing. But yes, after a placid and goalless first half, Juve took control in the second half. They came out at halftime with slight tweaks. Kalulu was pushed out to fullback from centre-back, while Yildiz was shifted more centrally to play behind Vlahovic, to play closer to Vlahovic. These adjustments resulted in Vlahovic scoring a pair of goals within the first 10 minutes of the second half, his first coming from a penalty kick early on, awarded after a De Winter handball, funnily enough against his parent club. Vlahovic added his second in the 55th minute with a sharp finish from a difficult angle following a pinpoint pass from Coop Miners, and this is already evidence that Coop Miners is getting to know his striker. No, he played him perfectly through. Remember last week we said that Vlahovic with Fiorentina, most of his goals came from over the top passes rather than crosses, or rather than receiving the ball to his back towards goal. That was exactly how Coop played him in here, and Vlahovic finished expertly.
Yeah, gorgeous pass by Coop.
Absolutely.
And a beautiful finish from quite a tough angle.
And this third goal was a thing of beauty as well, just because of Coop Miners' work off the ball.
There's a beautiful video that shows this, a phenomenal angle.
He tells Conceição to move, right? He guides his movement, and he lets the ball slide. Essentially, in fact, the assist was given to Thuram. But Coop Miners had a little dummy when it was on the way to Conceição. And then Conceição slotted home, was quite central, but it was a good finish at the end of the day to make it 3-0. Bro, I think that Juve showed patience and resilience, particularly in the first half. Genoa pressed high, but they couldn't create clear chances. Juve seemed to approach the game by feeling their opponent out, focusing on defensive solidarity, and then gradually taking control of the midfield and growing into the game as the game goes on. And this game, it worked wonders. Once Juve scored the first goal and the game has to open up, the opponent is forced to attack them. That's when they run riot.
Yep.
When they're against a low block, I don't think they have answers yet. So,
they need to invite the press to be able to win a game. And you see the teams that they blew out of the water. It is teams that like to press. It's Hellas Verona, it's Genoa, it's Como who love pressing. And then it's the more pragmatic teams that they seem to be struggling against, like you just said. But it's good to see that like Coop Miners is getting used to it, that Conceição now has a goal to his name, because these are the guys that can, what you need against the low block. I'm going to sound a bit like a casual over here. You need a guy that can make something out of nothing. Someone that can take a fantasista. You know, Vincent Kompany, when he struck that ball against City, is playing up against the low block. They couldn't get through. Fuck it, I'm gonna shoot.
That's a man of moments.
That's a man of moments. Yeah. That's what teams need when they struggle against a low block. It's sharp shooters. It's what Samardzic did last match against Bologna as well. These are the guys that you need in order to penetrate the low block.
Very true. However, I think also more importantly than a long-range sharp shooter, because pressing can totally make that difficult for you still. It's creative flair, right? The ability to spot a gap in space and play the perfect ball that no one anticipated.
But how hard is that against the low block?
It's super hard. It's super hard, but Juve have the tools. Because if you look at Gonzalez, Coop Miners, and Yildiz, they're all quite intelligent players, particularly Coop Miners and Yildiz. You look at Fagioli, who's playing in a double pivot. He's played behind the strikers before. He's got an eye. He's very clever. And what they lack is an orchestrator from the back, as we discussed. However, Kalulu starting as a centre-back makes me think that might be the plan for the future.
It might be.
Interesting to see Cambiaso not starting this one. And apparently he commented saying he needs to improve his game. He needs to learn how to remain focused for the entirety of the match. Now, what a professional if he's saying he needs to improve his game after this start he's had to the season.
And my God,
that's another intelligent player who can open up a low block.
100%. If Cambiaso becomes more tactically sound and intelligent, which is, I guess, what Motta is saying over there, then my God, we're looking at a world-class player. If he just fine-tunes tactically, he'll be absolutely unstoppable straight into the Italy team.
Yes. Di Canio has already criticized Leao this season, and now he's criticized Vlahovic. He said that big strikers essentially don't do these little gestures, because he did this when they keep talking with your hands for those listening.
And Vlahovic said something that it's what Di Canio said and it's what I said as well. Vlahovic proved us, being me and Di Canio. Right, because he said
you're in there, bro.
He said what I love is hearing all of that talk and then reacting with a goal. It's like that's what I love. That's what football is all about. And sure, you're gonna go through tough spells and you get a goal. That's a momentary W, but isn't what you want to be to give your team as much consistency and goals and great performances as possible. What he's pointing out there is he wants to prove people wrong, which is a very egocentric way to look at it. He needs to focus more on if he switches his mindset to he wants to contribute to the team, and even if he's not scoring, he's setting up teammates, he's making runs off the ball, creating space, so on and so forth. That's your focus, not shutting people up and then doing a celebration for a cold highlight reel isn't exactly what the starting striker of Juve should focus on.
Di Canio said if he scored 2 goals against a big opponent, it would have been worth the celebration, but scoring a penalty and then a decent goal against lowly Genoa, I don't think it fucking matters.
He's allowed to enjoy it.
You score, you celebrate how you want. Vucinic took his pants off once.
But Vucinic taking his pants off is crazy. It's loco. It's a celebration. But there are arrogant celebrations, and it just makes you think this player is a little bit dumb, and because that's what it is. Because who's he shutting up by finally fucking scoring? Hasn't shut anyone up, man. He needs to score throughout those games. Be more consistent. An inconsistent striker is a striker that scores every 9 games, like Beto was, for example. He's no better than Beto at the moment, but he's shushing people after his scores. Imagine Beto did that.
Instead, he did that weird haka thing. Beto, but yeah. I mean, we're used to it in the game nowadays. Players don't seem to be responding well to criticism the younger they get, and it could be as well because criticism has never been so in your face, man.
No,
These guys are glued to their
media,
phones, and
absolutely.
Twitter. I'm sure they look up their names, and I'm sure it gets to them.
Absolutely. And I hope he carries the momentum after this goal, and he manages to solve this problem for Juve, just struggling to find goals. Clearly here he did a good job against an injury-ridden Genoa, quite frankly. Hopefully he can keep this up.
Yes.
And then he'll prove us wrong.
Yes. Fagioli played really well this game. Can't wait to hear what he has to say about it towards the end of this episode.
Yes,
when
very
he's joined
excited.
by Tonali for the betting segment. You know what bet they did? Because I didn't even listen to their segment. Those guys, they really bother me.
They're crazy, man.
Yeah, they're weird. As we mentioned, so Friendrup is now injured, so Genoa are considering free agents. I saw their name in link to Kandreva, which it would be fun.
All for it.
But he's 37 years old nowadays. It screams desperate. Dele Alli, I think he might be worth the punt. 28 years old. Has had moments of incredible form in his career.
It's been a while, huh?
It's been a while. He has gone through a lot since. He was addicted to substances. He opened up about his trauma. Hopefully this is something he's dealt with and he can slowly rejuvenate his career. I think Italy's a good place, especially a lowly team in Italy when you're a player with kind of a big name. It's a good place to go and rediscover yourself. However,
rediscover your love for the game because there's a lot of passion.
However, the Genoa stadium's a little bit of a, as you mentioned earlier, intimidating ground. You know, the fans are very vocal. The stands are very close to the pitch. They're practically touching it. And probably he'll have to be implemented 15 minutes at a time, towards the end of the games. And those are the times when you need a goal. So those are the high stake moments where you can literally, it can make or break you as a player for Genoa. So we'll see. Hopefully, I hope they get him, bro. I want to see Dele Alli at Genoa.
Yes, they have to do something. Dele Alli or not, they have to do something to sort out that midfield situation. I don't know when Messias is back.
He's always in and out, Messias.
Malinowski's out for the entire season. So they need to start signing some players. Maybe a way they can look, obviously they need to wait for January, but a way they can do that is obviously by attracting loanees in, players that haven't exactly been playing as much as they would like. By January they'll be looking for a loan out, so maybe that is an area where they can certainly get some players in.
Like, honestly, man, if I were Genoa, I'd go all in to try to bring Liberali on loan, like in January. Can you imagine? They need someone like that to just connect that midfield to Vitinha, man.
They have Miretti, who's solid at that. He just hasn't shown us yet.
The problem isn't exactly or necessarily the starting 11. It's the depth that follows, right? Man. It's gone. Like they have nothing left.
Vitinha needs to show us some more secondary striker magic. Gilardino was right in saying he doesn't have the same profile as Albert Goodmanson. He can't link up the play. He's more of a secondary striker rather than an attacking midfielder. But it's certainly an area he can improve in inserting himself more into the match. Because he's good with the ball at his feet. He's good at carrying the ball forward. So it would be good to see him get stuck in the midfield a little bit more.
Absolutely, bro. Prime COVID nostalgia. This game, of course, being able to hear absolutely everything.
It's quite cool, man. Said. It's quite cool.
Quite cool. I wouldn't like it forever, but a one-off is fun, to be able to hear everything that's being said. But yeah, that is all, folks.
Fantastic. Bologna won, Atalanta won, one of the few lower scoring affairs that we had this week. Bologna coming off their first win of the season, a 2-1 away win versus Monza, whilst Atalanta were coming off disappointing 3-2 home loss against Como. Bologna missed Cambiaghi, El Azuzi, Ferguson and Pobega, whilst Atalanta were without Scalvini, Scamacca, Hien and Toloi. And they also lost Brescianini early on in this match as well. So Atalanta going through a bit of an injury maybe not a crisis yet, but definitely difficulties injury-wise. For Bologna, it was a 4-3-3 formation. Skorupski in goal, backline of Posh, Beukema, Lukumi and Liko Giannis, midfield three of Fabian, Freuler and Abisher, and a front line of Orsolini, Castro and Ndoye, whilst Atalanta played a 3-4-1-2 formation with Carnesecchi in goal, and a backline of Kosunu, Jim City and Kolasinac, Bellanova on the right, Ruggieri on the left, double pivot of Derone and Ederson, with Brescianini playing behind CDK and Lukman. Now, in the 37th minute, as I mentioned earlier, Brescianini had to be substituted after sustaining a thigh injury when attempting to strike the ball. Completely missed the ball. His studs seemed to hit the ground in quite an awkward way. And this adds to the ongoing injuries that Atalanta have going on at the moment. And he was, in fact, and then replaced by... okay, on for Brescianini again, Madonna. Samardzic, of course, he scored the winner. Bologna started the second half strongly, taking the lead early through Santiago Castro, who scored another beauty as he placed the ball into the back of the net from outside the area. However, their momentum was disrupted when John Lukumi was sent off for a straight red card after losing the ball to CDK in a super dangerous area and bringing him down as the last man, leaving Bologna to play the final 40 minutes with 10 men. VAR had to intervene as he initially didn't deem Lukumi to be the last man, but that was ridiculous. I mean, mistake by Lukumi.
Yes.
A horrible mistake.
At that point, though, the instinct kicks in, no? However, it was still quite early on in the game, and in reality, you're kind of screwing your team over, even though it took Atalanta till the very, very end to actually get into it, and I'm sure Jan Lukumi would have been totally disappointed or distraught after that goal at the end, after hanging on for so close, right? Watching his team just totally give up possession for the rest of the game, just hang on for dear life. Watching it with a bunch of guilt.
I believe the referee initially awarded a yellow card and a penalty to change it to a red card and a free kick. So... I guess pros and cons over there. At least it wasn't a penalty kind of thing, but there's no other way to put it. And Lukumi hung on the ball for too long. He got robbed, and his first instinct was to destroy CDK. And that's a footballer's instinct. I don't think you can argue too much with that. But the resulting free kick routine ended with Bellanova striking the crossbar from close range. And moments after, Atalanta once again hit the post through Lazar Samardzic as CDK was denied the rebound by Bologna's desperate defence. However, Bologna obviously piled men back. They were looking to stop Atalanta with the low block, obviously having 10 men. Sometimes it's a bit harder for the attacking team when facing 10 men because they just sit back. You've got a line of 9 defenders to beat. But the equaliser came through Lazar Samardzic in the dying moments of the match as he curled the ball around Skorupski from outside the area with a super clean strike. That's what he has, Samardzic. Just a very, very clean strike. The way he strikes it is different to most, but like I said earlier, it's important to have a player like that, a player that can just have a crack from distance, a player that could turn something out of nothing when you're not managing anything, just that big moment player. And Samardzic really stepped in over here for them, man.
Yeah, man, Atalanta do have a few of those. A few profiles who can get you goals from different avenues. That was a last hurrah.
Yeah.
Last ditch effort, I was sure Bologna were going to get another victory here, but they were hanging on for so, and luck was totally against Atalanta. Just wouldn't go in.
Skorupski was on fire as well, bro. Skorupski had a great game
as always.
He's been really, really good this season. His finest form.
Yeah, and he's got that shithousery in him as well, like in the 79th minute getting booked for time wasting as well.
I mean, he's Polish, right? Polish goalkeepers love that. Well, Wojciech Szczesny was one of the biggest ones. Apparently, might be on his way to Barca out of retirement.
To Barca.
Szczesny, very interesting. Wow. But if you guys are wondering how did this game go, I mean, I did just tell you everything, but obviously Bologna's game plan changed quite a bit. Bologna are typically the team that takes it to you. It's an Italiano side. But they were so defensive-minded that Atalanta were allowed to take 23 shots, but only 5 of them on target. This is the struggle that teams face when coming up against the low block. And
that's also courtesy to that is the fact that their fullbacks are big boys as well, bro.
Yeah.
So Posh and Liko Giannis can take can play the role of a centre back as well. And even Holm, who's slowly coming into the side, he's been riddled with injuries so far. He's had a bit of a tough start. This game he came on in the 84th. He's another big guy, Holm. So I wonder if this is a profile that they actually went for on purpose, or if it's a coincidence, the fact that their fullbacks are all so big and defensively sound.
I think perhaps even for the dead ball situations, it's important, and they're big guys who have got good legs on them as well. They're not big and clunky.
Yeah, they're not like
sense.
De Silvestri.
No, they've got good stride to them. They've got very good stride, particularly home, for example. But Bologna also did another great thing over here, is the way in which when you're piling men back, a lot of the thing you're going to see is crosses into the box. Crosses into the box, where Atalanta are the strongest. One of the strongest teams in the league at crossing the ball into the box.
When Retegi's on the pitch.
When Retegi's on the pitch. But even when he's not. You see Zappa Costa got to the end of cross last week. I'm not saying directly headed goals resulting from that, but they're smart with their flick-ons. The players that are coming in from midfield are super good. I think Bologna did a great job at stopping those crosses coming in as well. They really did a good job. Atalanta are one of the best teams using wing play alongside Inter. And Bologna did a good job of killing it over there. They killed the wing play that Atalanta used.
That's true.
Absolutely. And I think Bologna do have to be proud of their performance here. I mean, they went on so long with 10 men.
Man down. I think it's a point that both teams will take, to be honest.
Well, yes, Atalanta will be disappointed, naturally.
They will be disappointed after the red card, especially.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. However, at the end of the day, a point against Bologna away from home isn't the worst thing in the world, especially from how they played. Bologna played quite well.
I mean, you're right, but if you take a look at Atalanta's form,
they're desperate for a victory, aren't they?
They are dying for a victory. They're getting one right now because they're beating Shakhtar Donetsk 3-0. But they're
going to finish 8th in Serie A and win the Champions League. No,
exactly. I mean, let's take a look at their form. So they started the season off, of course. They beat Lecce 4-0. They lost to Torino 2-1. They lost to Inter 4-0. Beat Fiorentina 3-2. Lost to Como 3-2. Drew to Bologna 1-1. So that is... Are we looking at one victory so far this season? One victory so far this season against Fiorentina. They need to get going. They need a victory. Their next game is against Genoa. After that, Venezia. After that, Verona. After that, Monza. So now is a good time for them to get some points.
It's true. Absolutely, bro. And even their injury list has kind of eased up a bit as well. Granted, Scalvini and Scamacca and Toloi are out.
But they just lost Brescianini as well.
Yes. It's true. However, is it a long-term injury? I'm not sure. And is he a proper starter? I know there are no real starters on Atalanta, but I think there are worse profiles for them to lose.
Absolutely. If they lost CDK or Lookman, it would be...
Or even Darun, man. Darun is so important there. But at least if they have their key pieces in, they can kind of become themselves again, because they've had a bit of an identity crisis with all these injuries and changes that have happened.
They really have, man. And losing a player like Cope Miners, who was essentially everything to the team, the engine, the metronome, the brains, everything he was to this team. They also lost Scamacca. God knows how out of the blue. Bro, literally...
His knee gave in.
He broke his entire leg, Scamacca. He broke his entire fucking leg. Out for almost a year. Pretty much a year. So, they've had a tough start. They have the manager, they have the depth. It's only a matter of time until they pick up. It's usual that Atalanta have a slower start to the season. They'll get there, they have a good run of games. They're currently beating Shakhtar 3-0 away from home. They play Celtic in the Champions League next. They can get some good momentum going.
Yes. The next game is Torino 2, Lazio 3, bro. A very entertaining game. The scoreline a little bit deceiving, I think. I'll get into it very soon. So for Torino, it was a 3-5-2 formation with Pagliari in goal. As Vanja Milinkovic-Savic picked up a last-minute injury. One moment, because I've accidentally scrolled. Yes. So Mazina, Cocco, and Voivoda were the back three for Torino, with Sosa, Ilic, Ricci, Tameze, and Lazaro in the middle, and a striking partnership of Duvan, Zapata, and Sanabria. For Lazio, it was Provedel in goal in their 4-2-3-1 formation, with Lazzari on the right, Tavares on the left, Romagnoli and Hila's centre-back partnership with Rovella and Guendouzi in the double pivot, Isaacson playing out on the right, Zaccagni on the left, Dia as the trequartista, and Castellanos up front. They're playing four strikers, essentially, these guys.
Isaacson, Dia, Zaccagni, Castellanos. I'd have had that Milan setup going on. This could be a 4-2-4, it could be a 4-4-2 as well.
And even their fullbacks, both of them are very attacking. Guendouzi loves to have a crack as well, and has recently said he'd like to add more goals to his game in an interview. Like, this is just a team of attackers. Even Provedel scores goals.
Literally.
The missing players were Ilkan, Sava, and Shures for Torino. Shures has been out for
Sava,
so
the
long.
one that was with... Come on. What are they called, man? The team of Ted Lasso.
Jesus.
God.
I forgot their name, bro. Richmond. Zava, no?
Zava,
Yeah. Exactly, him. Gigot was out for Lazio. But yes, let's get straight into the action. Lazio secured victory over Torino, of course, and in a hard-fought match that saw them hand the league leaders their first defeat of the season. So Torino hadn't lost yet and were in first place when Lazio took on this challenge.
Literally.
Lazio took the lead in the 8th minute when Nuno Tavares burst down the left and set up Matteo Guendouzi, whose shot crept past Palieri. It was quite a central shot, to be honest.
Very disappointing goalkeeping, in my opinion. Straight down the middle. Of course, it went through a couple of players, but it was a terribly struck shot, terrible defending, terrible goalkeeping, in my opinion.
Very clever by Tavares to wait for the midfielder to run in when the striking option was not really open at the time.
I found it hilarious how that terrible goal was scored and terribly struck ball by Guendouzi, and then hits you with the cold.
Like he's just scored a no-look Rabona or something.
Literally. A no-look Rabona. Jesus.
Carlos Bacca, bro. The second half picked up pace as Dia doubled Lazio's lead in the 60th minute, finishing off a well-worked move from Gustav Isaacson. What always impresses me about Dia is how zen he is when he gets the ball.
So zen.
He's a Buddhist.
He'd be charging forward and he's completely zen. It's
so
amazing.
Composed when he gets that ball to strike, man. I've never seen him take a panicked shot.
Hey.
Torino responded in the 67th minute when Shea Adams pulled one back after receiving a sharp pass from Vlasic. I thought this goal was really cool. I thought Shea Adams really loaded the gun up. It was just like a bow and arrow.
Literally.
Like you can see him pulling the string,
Yep.
and then just shooting and placing it well in the bottom corner. Lazio regained their 2-goal cushion in the 89th minute as their substitute Noslin scored moments after coming on, tapping in a cross from Vecino and following some defensive disorganization. Torino did not give up, and in stoppage time, Saul Kokos scored our goal of the week with a stunning Mexes-esque acrobatic volley, which I would call a bicycle kick personally, to make it 3-2. Despite Torino's late push, Lazio held on for the win. Vanoli was also sent off in the 74th minute, by the way.
Yeah.
So, bro, for me, this Lazio team are pretty good vibes right now. Very offensive, very fun to watch. Interesting patterns of play and defensively sound overall.
I mean, I'm not too sure about that because Fiorentina just got their first win of the season against them last week in another shootout, and it seems like Lazio are conceding goals left, right, and center. To be honest,
but I think their plan. Okay, defensively sound was a stretch, but their plan seems to be outscore everyone.
Outscore everyone. How sustainable is that? And then is the question, because to win games you can't concede, of course. Well, you can, but it's completely unideal. And I mean, I saw an improvement in this match in the focus of the players because they were sharp, particularly the midfielders and the centre-backs. They were completely like anticipating the way Torino play their football. They were anticipating how attacking they're going to be and how they're going to hoof the ball forward and press and press and press. And I felt like Lazio responded well to that, and they actually took advantage of that. With some good wing play as well, utilizing their wing backs, and obviously having Zaccagni on that left-hand side is super ideal for them. Castellanos back into the team, super well utilized with his hold-up play. But I still think that it's not sustainable to be conceding two goals a game for Lazio. They looked better in this game, but the game before that again was the Fiorentina one where they were super disappointing in certain areas.
Errors to give away 2 penalties, right?
But they're a goal-scoring team. They're an offensive team, which is nice to see.
And they're offensive in a very direct way, unlike what we're used to seeing with Sarri. You know,
yes.
It seems that Lazzari has finally found like a coach that he can thrive under. Tavares has broken a record apparently since since the beginning of the collection of statistics in 2004 of statistics of this sort. He is the first player to get 4 assists in the first 4 games since joining the team. And that's off the top of my noggin, brother. I remember that one.
Jesus Christ.
They did defend very well this game, Lazio though. And Torino did struggle to penetrate, and they had a 2-goal cushion for the majority of the game. Eventually, of course, Torino did get one back. Like Shea Adams' goal was literally squeezed it through the gap.
Yeah,
it was the tightest of gaps. Saul Kokko's goal was a gift from God, you know. It was like how do you defend that, you know?
Yeah.
Last week it was 2 penalties, you know. So maybe there is a bit of defensive structure that's coming into play for this side. I think they're going to get better, and I think they have a few players, a few pieces who haven't even got going yet. Of course, in Castrovilli, for example. I wonder if he'll even get going. Ciauna hasn't really got going, a player who we saw good things from at Salernitana. That right wing position, Isaacson does well, but it seems that all those wingers are doing well in flashes, and no one's really cemented their spot as a starter over there. But
it's true, they have a good squad to work with. Let me just go through so far. I agree with the fact that they are improving, and especially like as an offensive side, they could definitely re-break into the top 7 debate. Of course, they won 3-1 against Venezia to start things off, then lost 2-1 to Udinese. They drew 2-2 to Milan. They beat Verona 2-1, lost 2-1 to Fiorentina, and now they beat Torino 3-2 away. This is their best result so far this season, in my opinion, because away to Torino is no easy feat, particularly with a Torino side that have been incredible so far this season. And I think that stylistically, firstly, this was a gorgeous match of attacking football where both sides didn't shy away from going down each other's throats. And you look at the profiles of the team; they're very much set up for a boxing match at the end of the day. But no, good win for them. I don't want to be overly critical about how they're conceding goals in every single match. They haven't kept a singular clean sheet yet. It's growing pains for them. It's their 3rd manager in 8 months. Like, let's give them a break.
It's true. And in the Champions League, in the Europa League, they won.
Yes.
And they seem to be, or they have enough depth, I think, to actually balance things out. It's not, they don't have superstars by any means, but like, again, this Dele Bashiru can do a role, and midfield can do a job, you know. Bazic can do a job as well. Vecino can do a job. Like this game, Guendouzi and Rovella, I think, complemented each other perfectly. They've still got these guys on the bench, Akpakpro, who can do a job as well. Interesting Lazio this season. I will keep an eye on them very intently.
They're definitely fun to watch. All their games are spectacles, to put it that way.
All their games are testicles. Indeed.
Yes, sir.
So that's pretty much it, brother.
Nice. Let's move on to Napoli 2, Monza 0. Napoli coming off a 0-0 away draw to Juve and a midweek 5-0 home win against Palermo. Whilst Monza were coming off a 2-1 home loss to Bologna, Bologna's first win of the season, and a 3-1 home win against Brescia in the Coppa, so something to smile about for Monza. Napoli lost Meret for a month to a muscular injury, and Monza were missing Cranio, Ciuria, Gagliardini, and Vignato. 4-3-3 for Napoli, which has been something that we have seen Conte do, changing to a 4 at the back formation. I will get into more detail regarding that soon. But Caprile in goal, and a backline of Di Lorenzo, Rahmani, Buongiorno and Oliveira, midfield three of Anguissa, Lobotka and Scott McTominay, Politano out on the right, Kvara out on the left and Lukaku up top. It was a 3-4-2-1 formation for Nesta's men with Turati in goal and a backline of Izzo, Mari and Carboni, Pereira on the right, Kyriakopoulos on the left, double pivot of Bondo and Bianco, with Pessina and Maldini playing behind Ivan Juric. Now Napoli extended their unbeaten streak and claimed top spot in Serie A, and they also haven't conceded a single... I'm reading that. They haven't dropped a single point at home this season. They won every single match at home. The match saw Politano open the scoring midway through the first half from a tight angle after a give and go with Lukaku marking his first goal since April. And shortly after, Kvara doubled Napoli's lead as the ball fell kindly to him after Izzo blocked McTominay's strike really, really well. And then Monza lost possession. Monza lost possession deep into their own half as Napoli were pressing them to absolute oblivion. What I saw over here, and just to give you guys a clearer indication of how this 2-0 victory came about, is Monza seemed incredibly persistent to play the ball out from the back.
They've been doing this, and they actually did it quite well against Inter, though.
They did quite well against Inter. They didn't do it well here because they were disrupted often and they just kept on doing the same thing, which leads me to think that there's this philosophy of how they should be playing the game, with a bit of a lack of plan B. At least that's what I see. They've got a guy like Juric up top. It would be decent sometimes to bypass all of Napoli's team by pinging the ball to Ivan Juric.
This is the Ancelotti argument, no?
The Ancelotti argument at Everton with Calvert-Lewin and Pickford.
Look at this, bro. Imagine playing the ball out of the back, right? You've got a rabid Kvaratskhelia on your right pressing you. You've got Politano on the left.
He's rabid.
Who presses really annoyingly, right? Politano as well. Like he'll feint like he's going to go left.
Like
yes. And then you've got Lukaku, the first line of defense. Lukaku running at you. Okay, let's say you pass the ball around them. Mari plays it to Carboni, to Bianco, back to Mari, and they're past the offensive line. Who do you have in front of you? You've got Scott McTominay, Lobotka, and Anguissa, dude.
Nightmare.
To play out of the back against Napoli is a nightmare.
Lobotka will typically hang back a little bit more, but Anguissa and McTominay as well, two physical fucking specimens. Specimens physically.
And very driven as well.
Yes, man.
Very driven.
Yes.
You hearing what the Italians are calling Scott McTominay?
I think you said
Scott McTominay. Scott. I love that. Scott. You're the guy with the microphone. Scott!
Scott! He's a beast, McTominay, man. I like his profile. And other than his profile, I like him quite a bit, man. He came into Napoli. First thing he did, Maradona statue. Shut up, I don't give a fuck. I'm going straight to see this monument of Maradona. This is a guy that dreamt of Man United his entire career. Got the opportunity to play at Man United. Think a move away to Italy. At least for him, he might have found it to be quite disappointing at the time. I think fighting for your dream club is a goal for most young players. But he completely is like, he's so happy to be at Napoli.
And it's genuine.
And he's taking it all in. You could see how driven he is by the city, by the culture. And it's so hard to find Premier League players who come into the league and appreciate it fully for what it is, or at least embrace it to that extent.
And he said it himself. He's like, I was surprised by the level of quality in Serie A. Was not expecting this. We don't know this in England. Yeah. They simply don't know that the league is this good, which is wild to me because I don't know, man. Like didn't all these guys' dads watch Serie A back in the day.
And they watched Milan in the
Yeah.
90s.
They must have thought that the league dipped when Juve started winning back to back, or maybe
Yeah.
after
Yeah,
Calciopoli or
I think.
whatever.
I think.
But yeah,
There have been a few instances that would put people off the Serie A.
but the quality
history.
never left, man, and the discipline that these teams have. But yes, Scott is a breath of fresh air. He's the perfect Conte player, and he's fitting in like a glove.
And this leads me to the conversation about Napoli and Conte in particular shifting to a 4-3-3 formation. You look at the history of Antonio Conte, and he's never fucking done this. It's always either a 3-5-2, a 3-4-2-1, a three center backs with two wingers that are horses essentially. Now, why did he swap to a 4-3-3? He was having success with the three at the back. He was implementing Conte football. But the way that he put it is that this transition allows Napoli to dominate possession and be more balanced in midfield, providing greater coverage across the pitch, especially in the defensive phase and press. Conte initially favoured the three at the back system, which he used throughout his career, but the arrival of Scott McTominay offered the tactical flexibility Napoli needed to modify their structure. So he got Scott McTominay. He's like, this is what I've been looking for in midfield. This is the kind of player that I need for us to play the system that I want us to play. So instead of going for a 3-4-2-1 or going for a 3-5-2 with the attacking midfielder, he wants to accommodate having Scott McTominay in this team to be able to play the way that he wants to play football in the most balanced way possible. And you see them, they're solid defensively and they're solid offensively. So for now, it's worked like a charm.
Absolutely. And it kind of molds into a weird 3-4-3 when in possession.
Yeah.
With, of course, Rahmani and Buongiorno staying at the back. Lobotka popping in between them in the gap. Sometimes also Anguissa. And Di Lorenzo and Oliveira are really pushing up and attacking the width and stretching the game. So this, you get the best of both worlds, right? You get a flat back four and a very compact defense. One that can go into a 4-4-2 in possession as well. Of course. I think it's out of possession. Sorry, it goes into a 4-4-2. It's a good system, and it's nice to see new tricks. Huh? They say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but turns out
And there's just
there's a special old dog.
it's refreshing to see, you know. Especially, I mean, when you look at De Laurentiis in his over the past few seasons, he's like, we need to play a four at the back. And in my mind, I'm like, this guy's just trying to emulate what Spalletti did. But clearly, it is the way that Napoli should be lining up, given the squad that they have. When they were playing a 3-5-2, Di Lorenzo was a right centre back. They're bringing Mazzocchi in, and then there's Oliveira better, Spinazzola better. Where's the balance in the midfield? Lobotka and Anguissa they shouldn't be in a double pivot together. And then you've got Politano and Gvara that are too narrow. They're not allowed to go out wide and provide that width. And then you've got Mazzocchi and whoever's starting on the left wing back, creating too many pockets behind them when they were attacking. And it wasn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but this little tweak over here was a good move by Conte, and it's good to see him implementing that at Napoli. Napoli also have 11 goal scorers in 8 games. They've got Gvara, Di Lorenzo, Lukaku, Ingonge, Anguissa, Buongiorno, Jesus, McTominay, Neres, Politano, and Simeone. Obviously, the Palermo game helped, right?
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, nice. They're definitely confident at the moment, especially after the start that they had against Hellas Verona. But yes,
just one more point on Monza,
please,
because they're dead last. Monza,
without a win.
They're the only team this season that haven't yet had a win.
I don't think it's looked ugly though.
It hasn't looked terrible.
You know, like on the pitch, watching them, I think they actually have a decent thing going. The question is, how harsh is the ownership going to be? I think they'll be a little bit lenient, simply because we're talking Galliani and Nesta.
Ooh, that's
there's an element of respect. Berlusconi family still present, right? There's his son. I don't think they'd sack him early on. I don't know. It's just a feeling I have. And plus, it's not like it's looking like they're playing terrible football or they're clueless. They just need maybe some more time. But then you risk Serie B. You see, you risk relegation.
Look, where I've been disappointed with them is they seem a bit clueless in attack. I think we see the vision of how they want to be playing football. The ideas are there, and we started seeing that transitional phase with Como recently. They started playing better football and not getting results, and then shortly after they win 2 games on the trot. So it obviously doesn't make sense to count a new manager out so quickly into the start of the season. But what I'm seeing is a lack of an attacking plan, and even the adjustments that Nesta made throughout the game didn't really give the desired effects. They just leave a lot to be desired. It's all ideas. It's essentially, Como 3 match days ago. 3 match days ago. They're looking better, but they're fucking struggling.
Yes. The worst result for them being that that loss to Genoa. Other than that, in reality, they've had quite tough fixtures. They had Empoli, right, where they drew 0-0. They had Genoa, who they lost to.
At home.
They drew to Fiorentina. They drew to Inter. They lost to Bologna. And now they beat Brescia in the Cup. And now they've lost to Napoli. The next game is against Roma. Again, the league table just doesn't let up.
Yeah.
And then you have Hellas Verona coming up after that. Followed by Venezia. Those 2 games, I think, will be very telling.
Absolutely.
Because those are relegation candidates. And then again, they're playing Atalanta and Milan and Lazio back to back, followed by Torino and then Como. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's definitely a tough league.
It is tough. We'll see what happens with Nesta. We'll see if they keep on improving. Just one more point is that Maldini is being praised by Spalletti.
He called him up, apparently.
He's considering calling him up. Is the latest that I've heard. I don't believe any teams have. I don't think any national teams have started calling up players yet. But he's a talent, Maldini. He's definitely
Spalletti,
underrated because of his name.
Look, the traditional trequartista is a dying breed. Maldini can do it.
Yeah.
And if Spalletti likes to play with a trequartista on a
for sure.
He tried it with Fagioli, in fact. I'm a player who's more creative, more technical. Maldini fits the mold.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's true. He could play out wide as well, man.
Yes, he's a very talented player, man. I think the weight of his surname, it's true, affects people's view on him. He's not a superstar, as Flynn says.
Yeah.
But he's a very good player. Yes.
Definitely.
Good. Roma beat Venezia 2-1, and boy was it ugly. So Roma lined up in a 3-4-2-1 formation with Zvilar in goal, Angelino, Indica and Mancini were at the back, with El Shaarawy on the left, Celik on the right, Cristante and Kone in the middle. Pellegrini and Sule played off the very broad shoulders of Dovbyk. For Venezia, it was a 3-4-2-1 formation with Jorinen in goal, Candela, Itzes and Svoboda at the back, with Zampano on the right, Haps on the left, Ellertson in the middle and Nicolucci Caviglia. Oristano and Buzio were playing behind Poyampalo. The unavailable players were Lefi and Salamakers for Roma, and Altare and Bjarkesen for Venezia. Bjarkesen has a hernia.
Oh, shit!
Yes. So, yes, Roma secured a comeback victory. Poyampalo opened the scoring in the 44th minute, taking advantage of defensive lapses, which had seen Buzio hitting the post. A lot of flat-footed people didn't like the body language of the players there. Nika kind of caught staring. You know, they allowed Poyampalo to get the rebound, and Poyampalo kills me because his celebration is so old school. It's like the Alan Shearer, where you just point with one finger upwards and just run with your back arched. It's hilarious to me. It's like bro came out of a time machine. Venezia, of course, continued to attack after taking the lead, with Mancini having to clear Ellertson's shot off the line, and Oristano unable to beat Zvilar in a one-on-one. Zvilar came out and got down and showed a strong wrist to stop the ball from going in. Roma responded in the second half, Cristante equalized in the 75th minute from a long-ranged attempt that took a massive deflection and dipped over the goalkeeper.
What a Brian Cristante goal that
Absolutely,
is.
and that's so typical Roma. You know, they take out the highly rated midfielder in Kone and keep Cristante on. The fan base goes absolutely mental. Everyone complaining, and Cristante scores.
Classic, classic.
Typical. Just 8 minutes after that, Pizzilli netted the winning goal with a header from a corner. And it meant so much to him. He's the youngest player on the pitch, scoring the winner, boyhood Roma player and fan. So big moment for him. And of course, Roma managed to hang in there and to take home all 3 points. Of course, or to remain home with all 3 points as they were already home.
Yeah.
So from a tactical standpoint, Roma dominated possession with 70%, using a typical, notice this word I've invented, Eurician 3-4-2-1 in a Eurich style. Eurician 3-4-2-1.
Now I get it.
Like how Torino, they look like Torino. To maintain control of the midfield and exploit the wings through their wing backs. Venezia kept it compact for the majority of the game and managed to absorb a lot of pressure, but struggled to maintain that discipline late into the second half, particularly after Roma's substitutions. Roma capitalized on set pieces as well, which is an area that Venezia, you can tell, would be it would be a priority for these slow teams to not concede set pieces. And Venezia showed that they actually are quite weak when it comes to set pieces, and especially their organization. The substitutions for Roma were... So Baldanzi came in the 58th, along with Pizzilli for Kone. And these are two guys who are already affecting the game positively, man. Baldanzi has been playing really well when coming on. And even Pizzilli, man, has been a bit of a revelation.
Been excellent.
Yes, he's been really good. Paredes came on for Pellegrini, okay? He put in the usual shift. And then at the end of the game, in the 85th minute, they brought on Hermoso to kind of close the game out, the centre-back. So I thought it was well managed by Juric to kind of stay calm and find solutions an hour into the game. You know, Baldanzi and Pizzilli totally changed the dynamic of the game. Granted, the first goal was absolute shit luck, but sometimes that's what you need, shit luck, right?
Bro, Roma went from being the better team and not winning the game to not being the better team and winning the game. I think if you look at that transition from De Rossi to Juric, sure, obviously, like we say, there are growing pains and a lot of work for Roma to do, because they still don't look like that fluid team. They still look a bit disjointed, and they look like a bunch of individuals being put together and saying, fuck it, let's try make it work. But 3 big points over here, and it ended up being a tough encounter because Venezia were attacking Roma. Of course, they were very disciplined for the most part, defensively, holding the shape, holding the fort, and making Roma swear at the end of the day. But even if you look at the expected goals, 1.68 for Roma, 1.7 for Venezia. Venezia, now I don't know the statistics, what makes
they had
a chance
massive chances.
big.
Massive chances.
But 4 big chances for Venezia and 2 for Roma.
Yeah, massive saves by Zivilar, clearances of the line from Mancini. Honestly, they missed.
This is the Francesco ball.
Wasteful. Yes. Another point I wanted to make was they won without Dybala, and that's something that they always struggled with under De Rossi or under anyone, to be honest.
Facts on deck.
So yeah, it was a very positive thing. I assume they rested him. Apparently, Dybala spoke out and said that Juric hasn't mentioned the clause of the contract to him, and that right now he's focused on the pitch and not on the contract situation or contract renewal, rather. So a little bit of drama still happening there with the whole Dybala situation. But yeah, I think Roma fans should be happy, because also what they have here is they've got a few staples in their system. For example, Angelino, man, has been superb.
What a signing.
Angelino's
been.
What a signing.
Versatile as well.
8 duels won, 4 clearances, 2 shots blocked, 2... Okay, these are just basic stats, but an incredible all-round performance over there. And yes, he can play as the third centre-back. He can play out wide. I think he's a staple for this Roma team. when it comes to the Skåne guy, I think in a few games he'll be a staple as well over there. Right now, Cristante, of course, is being given priority simply because he has the tactical awareness of what any coach wants to do. He's that type of player, Cristante.
Yes.
He's the type of player that fans don't understand why people play him, but coaches relentlessly play him. Simply because he's probably very tactically intelligent and a very professional, hard worker.
Do you find it disappointing that Roma struggled this much, though, to beat Venezia? Because
think
every other team, Milan beat them 4-0, Lazio beat them 3-1, everyone's
But Venezia,
just fucking Venezia.
Venezia are improving, bro.
They're growing.
They're growing. They're playing better and better and better. They still have this kind of Di Francesco curse where life is pain and you concede goals late on and throw leads. However, yes, they are growing. And last game they got their first victory, of course, prior to this. The Milan game was a disaster for them. They lost 1-0 to Torino in a very closely contested game.
They were
0-0 to Fiorentina, you know. I mean, obviously they're one of the worst teams in the league, but they are growing and becoming harder to beat. As for Roma, they have a new coach, right? So it's not going to be instant results, but actually it turns out it is instant results.
2 wins in a trot, and then they hadn't won a game.
Exactly. So it could be hailed a quick fix right now, this situation. Not to mention they drew, granted not the best result, to Athletic Club in the Europa League. But yes, they remain undefeated. Yes, that's pretty much it for that game. I mean, I could talk about it for longer, but we're pressed on time.
We are pressed a little bit.
How, for example, El Shaarawy is totally a moments player. We talked about moments players before. He's a 6.
You mean?
He's a 6 with 9 moments. Look at that. This is my kid, by the way. Amazing, El Shaarawy. I used to play in these kits. What a shame.
Same.
What a shame.
I had a guy today come to our stand and he had a Highbury 02 from 2006 Arsenal kit in that dark maroon, like bro, almost not purple.
Damn.
And his grandma ironed it.
His grandma ironed it? I'd beat the shit out of her.
Empoli 0, Fiorentina 0 in the Tuscan derby. Empoli coming off a 2-0 away win against Cagliari and a 2-1 away win against Torino in the Coppa. That slipped under the radar for me at least. Fiorentina coming off a 2-1 home win versus Lazio, which was their first win of the season. The host had a surprisingly better start to the campaign than their local rivals. It was also a long injury list, missing Male, Zurkowski, Belardinelli, Sazonov, Perizan and Ebuehi. The Viola missed Mandragora and Pongracic, so they moved to a 4-2-3-1 with Albert Goodmanson's first start. It was look at Empoli. A 3-1-4-2 formation, Vasquez in goal, and a backline of Viti, Ismaili and Goglio Cise. Pezzella was on the left, Jassi out on the right, and Grassi was the defensive midfield, with Henderson and Anjorin playing ahead of them, with Colombo and Esposito starting in the 2 up top. Whilst Fiorentina played a 4-2-3-1 formation with David De Gea in goal and a backline of Dodo, Comuzzo, Ranieri and Gosens, Bove and Cataldi in the pivot, with Colpani, Goodmanson and Kwame playing behind Moise Kean. Fiorentina dominated possession with 63%, yet struggled to create clear-cut chances. Despite this control, Empoli's deep defensive line forced Fiorentina into taking speculative shots rather than working their way into the box. Empoli remained compact and well organised throughout the game, allowing them to absorb Fiorentina's pressure. Their disciplined backline managed to keep Fiorentina's attacking players in check and limit their chances. Empoli's strategy was clear: defend deep and counter-attack, which probably gave them the better chances, with 2 for Colombo and 1 for Esposito, where they could have certainly done better. Fiorentina, meanwhile, relied on their possession-based build-up, but lacked the creativity needed to break down a well-organised defence, which was, like we mentioned, the low block earlier on. This resulted in a match that, while tactically intriguing, lacked attacking flair, particularly for a derby. Brother, Empoli are unbeaten in 6 matches and they have 4 clean sheets. They're competing with Juve at this point.
The Versa has these guys ticking, brother, and they've got these young guys who are dying to kind of leave a mark. They've got these players who have never quite made it, but were close, like Petzella when he was at Atalanta. You know, he
Great
had that
example.
injury, for example. He's a player who's dying for redemption.
Giassi as
know?
well to a degree.
Grassi's kind of a player who just wants to play in Serie A and prove that he is of Serie A quality. Ismaili is another niche football player who's been around in Serie A for a long time. They've just got a bunch of household names and players who want to prove themselves. And Vasquez, the goalkeeper, Colombo, Esposito,
Pellegrini,
yeah.
Solbakken.
Absolutely,
These
yes.
are guys that want to prove themselves.
They are the underdogs.
And
Empoli.
clearly, what D'Aversa's doing a great job of is, I know you guys want to prove yourselves, but this isn't about you. This
Yes.
is about us.
Exactly.
This is how you get judged as a good player. If you fit perfectly into my system, if you play my system and you play it to perfection, we're going to see results. And I would rather employ someone in my team who put in a shift to make a team better rather than he was the top scorer but his team got relegated. Because that's what these players are doing. They're proving themselves by playing D'Aversa's system and playing as a unit. They have this element of togetherness. Like Colombo and Esposito must be bros, you know what I mean? Alongside
They have this
Pellegrini.
good
you know?
chemistry as well. And this is all without Fazzini, by the way. He was available.
All
They didn't
without
even bring him
Fazzini.
on. They protected him. Fiorentina I see as kind of a level up version of Empoli, because they are also kind of underdogs in their own regard. They're players who have been on the brink of making a move to a big team or becoming
Edging.
pivotal to a big team, like Cataldi, for example, at Lazio, never really set the world alight, never
Yeah.
really cemented his spot there.
Facts a million.
Goodmanson, of course, is a player who's ready to burst, but of course, it comes with his own drama. Colpani's just made the move up from Monza. Keane is on the redemption as well, you know. So it's kind of like it was like a Western shootout between two like underdog cowboys. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I thought that Empoli managed to hold them out this game because, as you mentioned, they were a solid unit, while Fiorentina were a little bit too individual at times, especially Colpani. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to say it.
Yes.
There
He's
are
trying
runs,
too hard.
There
now.
are runs he didn't spot.
Yeah,
And they're basic, you know. And I think simply, as you said, he's trying too hard.
Yeah. They did something interesting as well, much like Napoli. They switched to a back four. It did seem they were conceding more before. I do think that the four at the back, interestingly enough, stabilized their defense.
And
But-
they don't have the defensive depth for it.
That's
the
what was weird.
personnel.
They were playing three wide backs, left backs and right backs. It would Biraghi and who else?
Biraghi, Ranieri.
What the heck
and
in
then
fuck is
Comuzzo,
I didn't get it. But so this has definitely stabilized their defense, but it has also limited their attacking options as their wide players are struggling to deliver quality crosses to create offensive overloads. In fact, that's 0 shots on target in this game. I feel like Dodo earlier on in the older system was doing a great job at bombing forward and coming in from behind as Colpani was straying into the center of the pitch. So certain transitions that they were getting quite good at offensively have been completely removed now. They've been depleted. Dodo is still making those runs.
He
He's
was
still
very
doing well.
active at this game, Dodo. Slightly inaccurate at times and
Yes.
wayward, but
That's
very,
what you
very-
get.
That's what you get.
That's
with
what you
Dodo.
get with
Yeah.
Dodo.
Yeah.
The Dodo bird. Literally. No,
Yeah.
literally.
He lost possession 23 times, though.
My cry. But
Compared to
so
Gosens' 9, for example, on the other side.
I guess it's just like choose your battles. I think number one priority is stabilize, don't concede loads of shit goals, which much like Napoli, Fiorentina have done the same thing. But it is limiting what they can do going forward. That's where they need these new guys to step up. They need Colpani to step up. They need Goodmanson to step up. To a degree, they need Keane to step up. He's been good, but they need him to do that little bit extra. I do think that Adli should be seeing a little bit more minutes because
It's competitive, bro.
it is competitive. It is competitive, but they don't have someone that could whip a fucking ball like Adli, which is what they could really use that at the moment.
It's true. And
It is competitive,
Bove
though.
Cataldi double pivot really doesn't do it for me. I think that maybe, to be honest, an Adli Richardson double pivot sounds good to me.
Adli
and they're both on the
Richardson.
bench. You know, you have one guy who can do the running and the muscle, and you've got Adli, who can ping those balls forward, but also contribute a little bit defensively. He had improved his defensive game at Milan a bit towards the end.
Yes,
not completely,
he has heart.
He
has that's one thing you can't fault him for. His tackling isn't immense, but he certainly.
But again, lots of players here for Fiorentina. A very deep squad list of players who are like semi-proven. Let's call it that.
Mm-hmm. Great result once again for Empoli. Empoli doing very well. A match that they nailed their match plan, let's put it that way. Disappointing result once again for Fiorentina, and at this point, bro, Palladino must be freaking out a little bit, because these aren't the results that he was after coming into it, and Fiorentina should be doing much better at this point. Now, he changed the system early on, which is needed, but it's also a bit worrying that they already had to change the manager's entire system because his vision wasn't working earlier on. I think that he is one of the managers. Now, again, I'm sure the owners have a lot more respect for him. He's a young up-and-coming manager who did great things with Monza. He showed us how fucking mature he is and how good he is. But they're struggling significantly, and I think if they've only won one game so far this season. If it keeps going that way...
But they've only lost one as well.
They've only lost one. Interesting.
In fact, there's 6 points of first place. That's how early it is. So I'm
not saying they should sack him by any means. I'm saying, but he's one of the ones to watch in that regard.
I thought this would be one of those situations where we'd have almost a plug-and-play manager with the team, but growing pains over here, and I guess he has to rotate and try new things because he has a deep squad until he finds out what's best for the team. It might take some time, I remember him at Monza rotating a shit ton, till he found out who his boys were.
Yep.
But yeah. Shall we move on to the next one?
Yes, sir, over to you. I'll find a decent match for us to have on in the
There's Bologna, bro. Bologna-Liverpool.
Let's have a look. Don't worry. Over to me.
Okay, so Parma 2, Cagliari 3, Monday night mayhem.
Yes, sir.
2-4-2-3-1s against each other. Of course, Parma's with Suzuki in goal, Valeri, Baloch, Osorio, and Del Prato at the back, with Hernani and Hainut in the double pivot. Mahala and Man as the Romanian terrorists on the flank. Barnabe playing behind Boni. For Cagliari, it was Scuffet in goal with Zappa, Luperto, Mina and Obert as the back four. Adopo and Makumbu in the double pivot, with Zortea playing as the right winger, Luvumbo playing as the left winger, and Viola playing behind Piccoli. So it seems that this game, Nicola went for a little bit of flair, a little bit of creativity in that pocket with Viola, to maybe compensate for Piccoli's lack of technique.
Yeah.
And it worked brilliantly at times, and Viola looked like he was playing as a false nine.
True. And I like that.
Loved it.
Nicolas Viola.
Yankto, Lapadula, Pavoletti and Vietesca were all injured for Cagliari, while Benedicak, bro, please.
Benedicak, I guess, man.
Cancelleri, Cercati, Esteves and Kowalski were all unavailable for Parma. Now this was, a roller coaster of action and tactical shifts, and the first half was dominated by Cagliari, and they took the lead in the 34th minute when Zortea headed home across from Luvumbo Zito, who turned to the fans and shushed them. Luvumbo, so you can tell that even in Sardinia there's a lot of criticism for wingers who do not get their numbers up, right? Yeah. He's Leao from Wish. Parma struggled to break down Cagliari's defence and trailed at half-time. Parma equalised in the 62nd minute through Dennis Mann, who finished off a move initiated by substitute Koulibaly, who absolutely destroyed Zortea.
On the left-hand side, Koulibaly. I've seen him play on both sides now. Interesting.
It's true. He's very versatile and powerful and skillful. Cagliari responded with a spectacular strike from substitute Razvan Marin in the 75th minute, but Parma levelled the game once again in the 87th minute through Hernani's penalty, awarded after a VAR check for a foul by Palomino. Hernani's really composed from the penalty spot.
Always has been.
Cagliari immediately bounced back, and when I say immediately, I'm not being dramatic at all. A minute later, Piccoli netted the decisive goal after being played through intelligently by Gaetano, and this is a perfect example of Parma just not defending well. totally. So there was Piccoli, he was allowed to run in behind and was played through. But if you look on the left side, there's a player, I can't quite remember who it was, but totally alone. Like one long ball over the top, you would have a 2v1 situation. Yes, so
It's
I think
a persisting issue for them, that, man.
I'm not sure what's leakier, Parma or my washing machine, bro.
Your washing machine is bad, bro.
It's really leaky at this point, man.
It leaks a
Might
lot.
have to use some patron money.
Don't
No,
you
I'm
dare.
kidding, no way. Yes, I think that Parma showed good resilience to kind of keep coming back into it, but Cagliari showed even more heart than they did, and at the end of the day, Cagliari were just better defensively.
Yes.
That's it.
Mhm.
That's it. And that's the thing. Parma can really get going forward. They were super wasteful in the first half. And Dennis Mann missed a few chances. And
Yes.
even at the end of the game, he had an opportunity. He failed to hit the target. Mihala missed a few chances as well. So yes, I just think that the team that was more defensively solid and defensively organized won, to be honest with you.
I completely agree. And I think this was the game that our co-hosts, whatever, bet on. Sandro and Nico. They said Parma would win this game. But look, Cagliari needed a win. They needed it desperately. Parma at the moment.
At this point, huh?
Parma at this point are showing us like they're almost still riding off the high of beating Milan, almost beating Napoli, and just being a team that just came up and plays amazing football. And it seems like they've got one thing on their mind. Their identity is attacking football, and they want to attack and they want to play this transitional game style that allows them to rip the opponent to shreds when they're attacking. But the whole team gets involved when they're on the attack. The entire team, which makes them super susceptible to the counter-attack. So many counterattacks. It's incredibly frustrating to see that Milan, the fastest team in the league, didn't manage to get past.
Because they had Milan pinned back, brother.
They had Milan pinned back,
and
literally.
they couldn't do anything.
That's it. I feel like they do really well at taking control of games, but they don't do it for 90 minutes.
That's it.
They lose control
they seem
entirely.
To have no plan B, bro. This game, when they were chasing the game for the entire duration of it, and I think towards the end they were even going to push for the victory. Hence
I think so. It must have been.
Cagliari actually getting the
Because
winning
momentum
goal.
was in their favor. They had just scored. So obviously pile men forward, which is a mistake that we've seen Milan make against Torino last season, where they went out to get the victory and then it bit them in the ass.
Yes.
They were a man down as well. I remember that was crazy. Enough about that. But Parma did the same thing over here.
Yes.
They just scored. Momentum's in our favor. Let's attack. But Cagliari, you can't write Cagliari off. They needed the victory dramatically here, and they're a unit.
Yeah, I love them. I love watching them. I love what they're all about. Zortea played really well, and I'm a big fan of this guy.
He did play really well,
Finally, he
Zortea.
had a good game, and interesting to see that he's playing as a winger, bro.
Yep.
So you've got Lovumbo on the left and Zortea on the right. Very interesting, but with Viola in the middle, and Viola getting the start to me is great, because I was worried that the season he'll start to be phased out, but he's still so involved.
And
he's still
get
a top player, man. As in top player with a pinch of salt. Top player for these teams.
He's excellent.
He's excellent. He is a top player in an average man's body at the end of the day, because he doesn't have the fitness or the stamina or the strength to actually do it.
He has the Saponara, he has the Cassano,
exactly.
He's that mode to a degree. The Baggio, because Baggio is a very normal fellow in that regard, but absolutely
the elite
world-class.
version of that.
Exactly,
right?
he's
the Wayne Rooney kind of.
He's the founding father of the Fantasista group,
exactly.
I find.
Yes. But yes, that's pretty much it for this one, bro. You have one more.
I do have one more.
Remind me what it was.
Como 3, Hellas Verona 2.
Okay, run us through.
Como were coming off a 3-2 away win against Atalanta. Hellas were coming off a 3-2 home loss against Torino. What is it with 3-2s, Madonna? The last 4 games we mentioned were 3-2s.
Mental.
Fabregas was fresh off his first Serie A victory with a shock, you guessed it, 3-2 result away to Atalanta. Hellas lost 2 on the bounce to Lazio and Torino, with Davidovic starting his 2-match ban, with Serdar, Harroui and Cruz injured. Como played a 4-2-3-1 formation with Audero and goal and a backline of Brempt, Dossena, Kempf and Moreno. Perrone and Sergio Roberto on the pivot with Fadera out on the left, Strefetz out on the right and Paz starting behind Cutrone. It was a 4-2-3-1 formation also for Hellas Verona with Montepò on goal and a backline of Chachua, Danilo Lic, Coppola and Freze. Silva and Belayane were in the pivot, Suslov out on the right, Lazovic out on the left and Castanos playing behind Tingsted. Montepò had no right to save Nico Paz's header in the 20th minute using incredible reflexes to stop the Spaniards' free header, and shortly after Sergio Roberto missed a sitter as he was clean through on goal with his half volley swerving just wide. Cutrone opened the scoring just before the break with his deflected strike of Chachua looping over Montepò. Paz hit the post in the 49th, but VAR quickly brought back play to award a penalty to Verona after Sergio Roberto stepped on Lazovic, denying him a clear strike at goal. Lazovic netted the penalty, going straight down the middle, making it 1-1. Suslov was then sent off for Verona in the 63rd minute for a second yellow card offence, entering a 50-50 with Fadera rather recklessly, and needless to say, Fadera did an excellent job of going down screaming.
Suslov got injured there as well. Turns out he's been cleared only recently for the next game.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
It was a 50-50. It was a 50-50.
They were both screaming, and he got sent off while screaming. It's hilariously brutal.
He did get the first hit. Yeah. Just 8 minutes later, Cutrone put Como ahead with a brilliant finish from the edge of the area after an intelligent ball by Paz into space. What a ball by Paz. Still a lot to do for Cutrone though there. In the 88th minute, Bellotti got his first goal for Como, sealing the victory as finished into an empty net after a square header by Mazzitelli.
So clever.
He knew exactly what he was doing, Mazzitelli. Yeah. It's like, Bellotti.
How many times do you see people go for a goal from those angles? So smart.
Loads. And then Matisse Lambourde got a consolation goal for Hellas in stoppage time with a close range deflected strike. It's two wins on the trot for Fabregas' men, improving the victory against Atalanta and the victory over Hellas Verona. More to come, I think. They're growing.
Absolutely.
Joy to watch, man.
They're playing really fun football to watch, really expansive. How many times? What's the sound you make when you watch Como?
Oh.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it.
Oh.
Exactly. You see these passages of play, like between like Moreno and Sergio Roberto and Paz. They just make you go, oof. You know, Gabriel Strefetza as well is balling out.
They have intelligent players.
They do.
An intelligent manager.
And funnily enough, their heart is in the head of the system. You know, where the brain should be. Patrick Cutrone.
Their heart is in... Beautifully put.
Thank you, brother.
Jesus, you're
a
poet.
Yes, behind him he's got all this experience and talent, and he's just got his eye for goal and his desire to win, and he's leading from the front, man.
This is like Barcelona, man. like it isn't what he's trying to put together. Fabregas here, a Barca legend. Lest we forget, started his career there and played there after his Arsenal days as well. You have Sergio Roberto, Nico Paz, Moreno. Of course, these aren't all Barcelona players, but you see what he's trying to do over here.
A splash of Spanish identity.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
And if you look at the heat map, bro, so many players up front. 4 players in advanced positions in Fadera,
bro, their press was incredible.
Paz and Cutrone and Strefetza.
Their press was 90% of the reason they had success in this game. Especially after the red card. Then their press was double as effective, naturally. They're up against 10 men. What happened?
I think Dalinga just scored against Liverpool. No. Offside. He scored those.
Yes, Dalinga starting ahead of Castro. But it was Como's press. That was everything. They really didn't allow Verona to do anything. Now, Verona have been a team that going forward have been very strong. Attacking Napoli down the middle, basically. But Como, both off the ball and on the ball, were super good. And they won the game after that red card. There was no doubt. I know the scoreline is 3-2, but Hellas got a consolation at the end. It was 3-1, you know. Cutrone, 4 goals in 6 games this season. He's looking like a versatile striker when he looked more like a
poacher.
Like a poacher and a seal when he was at Milan. I say seal because it was Suso cutting in, crossing it to the first post, and Cutrone is there. wasn't that it? Was that not it?
It's true.
That's exactly how Gattuso used them. But
Was it
Fabregas-
Lazio once he scored 2 goals against them in the cup? In the Coppa? And...
I think so.
Yeah, love me some Cutrone.
Yeah. And Verona have slight discipline issues. Another red card for them. They certainly have a manager that also enjoys a red card in Zanetti. But Como, excellent. I can't wait to see more of them. Okay, Liverpool scored.
Same here.
McAllister,
your colleague.
my colleague McAllister. Shout out Mac, love you, bro.
Do not go anywhere, for we have our co-hosts.
Yes,
with their segment.
They'll be with you shortly. In the meantime, we'd like to thank you guys naturally for tuning in, reminding you to drop us a rating or a follow wherever you guys get your content. We hit 5k followers on Instagram. That's a community we'd particularly like to build. We like the versatility of Instagram. We like how personal Instagram is. The way the algorithm works over there is a little bit less, at least, brain rot than the one of TikTok. So it's an area we're looking to grow, as well as YouTube. YouTube is our
is the hub
favorite
of our community, ideally.
That's what we want it to
we
become.
want discussions to happen in the comment section eventually.
Yeah.
Which would be great.
And we'd love to invest more in video. You guys would certainly be giving us a great reason to invest more in video if you show us some more attention over there. That's enough yapping from us, because we've yapped for 2 hours and 10 minutes. Over to our co-hosts. Love you all, and see you all next week.
I raise you 2 millions.
Oh yeah? I raise you 3 millions.
Ma vaffanculo. Bro, we have to tell them the bet.
So first, we listen to Alan. Alan, he make us the poor. Then we listen to you. You make us the poor. Cagliari beating Parma. I don't know what you think. This Parma, you think they're like Barcelona.
It is all Alan. It is all Alan.
It is all Alan, and it is all you, my friend. But today we are listening to me, because I am the professional. You are the loser. You do not even play in Serie A. You don't know the teams. You sell out. You go to Newcastle upon Tyne. You go to Bijou Club with the Geordie Shore.
You are always crying, Nico. Always crying.
You are crying in the interview they make for you. You are crying when the fans they scream your name. You're always crying like a baby, always crying.
Pezzo di merda.
Today we listen to me, because it is still too much early to think about who will win, who will lose. So we think about the goals. We saw a lot of goals last week, but now I start to think some teams they score a lot, some teams they score a bit. Next week, who do we see? Lazio contro... Ma che cazzo stai facendo, Lazio?
Empoli.
Lazio contro Empoli. Roma contro Monza. Under 3 goals.
The odds, one moment, let me work it out in my brain. 3.1.
3.1. And with that, I raise you 5 millions.
I am all in. I fucking love gambling.
I love gambling so much. I am going to get addicted again, and I will be banned 2 years, and I will cry more and more.
I cannot wait.
I cannot wait. Thank you. I am shaking your hand now. Your hand. Grazie mille.
Strong hand.
Alla prossima.
Alla prossima.
Ciao.
Ciao. Tutto bene.
If you like Serie A or have ever liked it in the past, it's a good opportunity for you to listen once a week and you'll get filled in.
In the football weekend, that's like the main dish. But then a few days later, you drop your episode and that's like the dessert. And the dessert is just perfect.
It's good, the cake.
It makes it feel like we're all sitting in a room together, just BSing with each other.
The atmosphere is fantastic.
I promise nobody will ask you to send boob pics.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
I love how you go into so much detail and show so much passion
towards each and every team. Literally, no team is left undiscussed.
When I listen to you, it's like I'm talking to you in a pub. It's like I'm chatting to a friend and you're chatting to me.